When you're building something worth bragging about, whether it's a resto mod, a track toy, or your next garage masterpiece, there's no shortcut to doing it right, and doing it right starts with the equipment you can trust. That's where the Millermatic 211 Pro comes in. This machine is built for long days in the shop, delivering both MIG and flux cord welding performance you can count on. With USB enabled upgrades, auto set feature, a higher duty cycle, a 15-foot MIG gun, and dense connections, it's engineered to keep you welding all day, every day, with no drama or downtime, just results. It's compact, it's tough, and it's ready for the moment you flip the switch. So if you're serious about building stronger, cleaner, and faster, check out the Millermatic 211 Pro at millerwelds.com or hit up your nearest Miller distributor today. Welcome to another episode of the Strange Motion Way podcast. I'm your host, Tim Strange, Carrie Strange, still getting ready for Hot Rod Power Tour. And tonight we have a custom paint legend, not just on cars, but his airbrush talent and artwork. He's just an overall artist. He's done work for Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, Rick Dorr, Jesse James, Arlen Ness, Cal Koncepts, Disney, Lucasfilm, and a whole bunch more. So welcome tonight, Mr. Craig Fraser.
Thank you very much. Good seeing you again, Tim.
Yeah, you too. I think the last time we visited was at the Mini Truck Hall of Fame, right before the
SEMA.
SEMA show. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Always.
I think the only time we see each other is we run into each other at SEMA. That's about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I don't get out that way that often, and you don't get out my way very often. I was in California. I was just out at Del Mar a little bit ago for a car show that I was on the microphone, but I was in and out. Didn't really have much time to do other things. So.
Well, you gotta let me know next time you're in the area. I use it as an excuse to escape and go to a car show.
Yeah, cool. So before we get back into what you're doing now, let's go back to little Mr. Fraser growing up in school. One, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Moline, Illinois, and my dad was,
Wait. I did
yeah,
not know that.
yeah.
I'm a Quad City guy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I was born in Galesburg, but went to Alwood. I went to East Moline was our local BMX track. We would go there. The drag strip
Oh,
was Cordova, and I did not know you were a Midwest guy.
I was born in Moline, Illinois, and my parents at that time moved to Baltimore, Maryland. My dad was stationed at the Rock Island Arsenal, and then he moved to California when I was about two.
What did he do at the Arsenal? A lot of my buddies' dads worked at Arsenal. My one Bloomberg, one of my best friends, his dad was in charge of like one whole building manufacturing facility.
My dad was Army intelligence, so he retired a lieutenant colonel in the Army, and so I was kind of an Army brat. Just kind of traveled around with him. He he was there, and then he got out. He didn't really get out of the Army. But he started working with the DIA and got transferred over to California for a project they were working on with the FBI, and so that's when he moved to Bakersfield. And so I was
So how
around
old were you when you left Moline?
about 1.5, 2. You
Oh,
know,
so you don't
I don't
know the
remember.
folklore about the Rock Island Arsenal.
No, I don't.
Supposedly, black squirrels were originated on the island for some reason.
Yeah.
And they got across the water, the Mississippi, and there's a lot of black squirrels in the Quad City on both the Illinois side and the Iowa side. And they suppose that was the folklore they told me as a little kid that all black squirrels somehow originated on the island. I don't know if there was. I always thought maybe it was a government experiment or something.
Government
I don't really know.
experiment. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. You could go down that rabbit hole.
yeah, right. Yeah, maybe they were robots. I'm not sure.
My dad was a spook, Army intelligence. He was involved with all that stuff. And so, yeah, the stories were interesting. Mostly
Very cool.
disinformation.
So mostly when you started going to school, you've always been in California, or did he continue to move you around?
No, we stayed in California for a while. I moved myself. When I left high school, I moved to Texas and went to Letourneau College in Longview, Texas for aeronautical engineering.
Okay,
And
you got to slow down here. Carrie's not here, so her questions are,
yeah,
in high school, what type of a student were you?
I was not a bad student. I was about a 3.0 student. So, but I was a problem. I would go to, I actually liked school. I was kind of odd in that respect. But I went to summer school also because if I didn't go to summer school, my dad would make me work. And so I went to summer school, but because of that, by my senior year, I'd almost practically graduated. So I started going to college my senior year, and I was really interested in music back then. So I was in a lot of different jazz bands. I played in a number of different, because I played multiple instruments. I would be in this one orchestra here, this one marching band here, this one jazz band here. I had a full ride to USC in music, and I turned it down, which pissed off my grandfather, who was a professor at USC at the time and was didn't speak to me for a couple of years. I didn't want to be a musician for the rest of my life. I wanted to go and I was more interested in computer science. At that time, it was not even computer science. When I started doing it in '82 at Cal State Bakersfield, it was a math major, but they had a IBM, I think it was a 4400 mainframe. We were still doing punch cards back then. And so I really was
So
enjoying
what
that.
year would this been?
82. I graduated in '83, but I started going to Cal State Bakersfield in '82 and was in the jazz band there. That's got me in there. And I started
What
taking
what did you play?
saxophone. Played saxophone and flute and soprano sax, mostly alto sax. And then I also played oboe and bassoon, mostly bassoon in the orchestras, but I mostly played alto sax. That's what I really focused on was in jazz. And I enjoy doing it. I played a couple of different groups, and I decided I didn't really want it to be a major. And so I went to look into computer science. I decided, nah, I didn't like that. So I went into aeronautical engineering, and that's when I moved to Texas. And that was in um, 84, 85, I think it was.
Did you
And
take any art classes in high school?
I did take one art class and get kicked out. And so
Why did you get kicked out? I
I,
apologize.
I,
I'm having dinner while we're talking because
no, I go for it. You
I'm
told me you're
running
going
late.
to.
And
I
so
don't mind.
what did you get kicked out for?
The teacher, I showed up and the teacher had everyone kind of in a circle around a still life. And the teacher's like, "Oh, pick a chair." And there was only like one chair available on this one other side. And I didn't like the side of the still life because on the other side there was a cool skull and I wanted to draw the skull. So I moved my chair to the other side. People moved out of the way and I sat down and she got very upset by that. Said, Mr. Fraser, you can't disrupt the class and move. And I go, well, if I move now, I'm disrupting even more. They moved out of the way. I'm sitting here now. And she's like, go back to the other side. So I go to the other side and proceeded to draw what I saw on the other side, not from my position. And she at the end of the class, we all turned our drawings in, and she's like, "That's not what you saw from your side." I go, "You didn't say I had to draw it from my side, and you said to draw what I saw, and I did see it from the other side, so I just drew it from memory." And so she sent me to the principal's office, and the principal was like, "Craig," and he knew my dad, and he's like, "Craig, you really don't want to be in that art class." You know something? I want you to have a free period and go work on your Camaro out in the band parking lot like you do anyway. So it was because I was taking it because I had nothing to do my senior year. I literally had taken all my classes, so I had all these free periods. So I was taking art. So I said, "Oh well," didn't you know? So it was ironic. Is my one picture I had, that drawing I had done, she had it on display during an open house, even though I
Oh,
got kicked out of class for it. So
yeah.
they're
It was
not
good enough to
for it.
be, yeah, showed.
Yeah, so I literally that's it. I've never taken another art class since. I read a lot of books, self-taught myself, and just learned by watching, and which I found to be the best way possible. When you're an art major or you're taking an art class, mostly what you're learning is you're either going to learn art history, which is fascinating, which I love, which you can learn just as well in books. Actually, better in books, in my opinion, because it's objective, not subjective and or you're learning technique. But if you think you're going to become an art major and become an artist, and you're not, that's not necessarily true. Most art majors become art teachers, which is sad because kind of like a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox. Eventually, you get these people that if you cannot do, you teach, and if you cannot teach, you teach Jim. That old adage, and uh, and so you end up in many cases, there's some phenomenal professors and instructors in schools nowadays, but there's also some that are there because they've run the scam of tenure and they don't deserve to be there. And the worst, in my opinion, is art. At lower levels, they're usually better, but when you get up to like upper levels, I was really very, very discouraged by seeing the art classes or certain classes at Cal Poly. Like I went to Cal Poly after Laterno College in Longview, Texas. I moved back to California. I got out of aeronautical engineering because in '86, McDonnell Douglas laid off 2,000 people, and I realized I'm not going to have a job.
Oh,
So
wow.
I switched over to architecture, and I went to Cal Poly because I really liked that area. And I used to always vacation there anyway from Bakersfield. So um, uh, basically, I just lost track of my train of thought right there. What was I saying? What was I saying?
You came back to California to go architecture.
Oh, architecture. But there's a reason I was making that comment about that. It was about something else I was saying. Oh well. Anyway, went back there and got into architecture and eventually graduated from architecture. And before my last year, I moved to Italy and spent my last year in Italy at the Piazza Indipendenza University there in Florence, Italy, or Firenze, Italy. And
Wow.
loved it there. I was going to actually stay. I ended up staying about 6 months longer than the program and was working over there. And decided to move back here. I was going to give you a nice date. I was going to come
So
back here for
what were you
1 year.
doing when you got out of school in Italy? What were you doing as a job? What were you doing over there?
Well, when I went over there, I actually started airbrushing. I didn't have any money to do it. I actually didn't have enough money to go to the program because they had changed the program halfway through. But they also had this rule where they couldn't ask you how much money you actually had. So I just said, "You have enough money?" Yeah. So I went over there and got a job, and I started. I hooked up with this one guy. I didn't speak any English. I didn't speak any Italian. He didn't speak any English, and he was very interested in me airbrushing because he saw my portfolio and at his t-shirt shop that was in Piazza San Lorenzo. And so, but it wasn't open yet because it was closed during it was like the vacation time of the year in the summer. But he had a friend that was opening a nightclub, and his friend was Sicilian, didn't speak any English either. So we just communicated by hand gestures and a few words that he knew and I knew. And so I did all these murals in his nightclub
Oh,
and
cool.
became a bartender there at his nightclub. And he liked that because tending bar there, people would come to practice, the Italian students to practice their English on me. And being it was the old, so I could teach them all the bad words and stuff, and vice versa. So it worked out really good. It worked out great for me because the best way for me to meet people over there also was I could get them into a nightclub that was actually a $50 cover charge, but I had anyone that I could get anyone I wanted in with me, and uh, and so that's how I started really just working. And the school became almost secondary. The school was actually easy. It was just design and architecture. It was my 6 year design. So I was working on that, but then I'd go and I'd airbrush t-shirts in the daytime, work the bar at night. And I moved to the other side of the Arno, which is away from the city central of Firenze. And I moved in with a family that didn't speak any English either. So I was forced to learn Italian very quickly to the
So
point where
how do you find a family that you're going to live with when you don't understand what they're saying?
I learned enough Italian to be able to read want ads. And I
Okay.
found a want ad, and everyone was all like, I was talking to one person. He goes, "Well, if you live in the city, centrale, the center area, you're going to be all the students are there, and you're going." And one guy was making jokes saying, "Yeah, you guys are from America, you come here, and then you hang out together, and you all go to the Mexican bar, you go to the American bar, and then you go home, you don't learn shit, and you learn bad Italian."
Hmm.
And well, that's not necessary. He goes, yeah, every single one of you guys. He goes, unless you go to an altra parte di Arno. I'm like, what's that? He goes, the other side of the Arno. You go to an altra parte. He goes, oh, go live over there. He goes, you take the bus into town. No one over there is going to speak in English. No students are over there. So I'm like, okay. Also, it was cheaper, a lot cheaper.
Hmm.
So I went over there and I found a family that had a really beautiful flat in this building, all marble floors and stuff. But the parents, the grandparents had passed away recently. And so they had an entire bedroom, living room, and bathroom, and all this separate section. It was just they weren't using it. So that was mine. And it was like literally half of what anything would have cost inside the town. And I had a nice supermarket next door, and I got to learn, and I learned how to speak the real Italian, street Italian, not the Italian they were teaching us in the school, which was it's kind of funny. The Spanish we teach in our schools here is bullshit compared to learning Spanish or whatever in Mexico or learning it in Spain, and it's the same thing over there. The Italian they teach in the English they teach there is a joke, but the Italian they teach over there is a joke. And I go, how can you teach this when you actually know how to speak it? And it's just, I guess, just the way schools are. So I became fairly fluent within 3 months. Within 6 months, I actually stopped going to the Italian class, which I challenged the course, and I just started taking only architecture classes there, and didn't take any more of the language classes. So, but it worked out really good for me. It was fun. I had a great time.
So then what made you decide to come back? What made you decide to leave Italy?
Well, I was actually working on my temporary residency over there. You had to get permission to live there and stuff. It's not a dual citizenship. You're always going to be an American citizen if you're born over there. But to get a citizenship there, you have to apply for it. And The reason I wanted to is I wanted to buy and sell motorcycles back and forth the United States, and to get your assicurazione, which is your insurance and you have to be a citizen, a resident. You
Okay.
can't actually back then. Maybe it's different now. Actually, it is different now. But so I was working on that, and then my best friend Eric, his sister, who I've known forever, she came over and she was a violin player with the orchestra with I think it was the Disney Orchestra, but I think she came over with at that time with oh, I can't remember what anyway, she was at the symphonic group that was touring Europe. And she got a hold of me and I said, yeah, like, come on over and give you a tour of Italy or whatever and show her around. And then we started kind of going out. She came over and hung out for a little bit, and then she went back home. And I said, I'm going to go back home, see my parents. But also I was like thinking, well, still want to come back. And I talked to my boss that I was working for, and I had an architecture job waiting for me, and then I had the airbrush job, which had grown from not just doing t-shirts. So I was now doing motorcycles and doing other stuff, and I was working for a number of shops. So I had like 3 or 4 little jobs going on, and I remember talking to say, look, I'm going to go back home for about maybe 6 months or a year, and then I'll come back, and because it was going to take a year for my paperwork to go through anyway. So I was like, I'm just pedaling, I'm just doing nothing. So I got all my paperwork done. And then I came back to the United States, and I said, I'm going to try working over here for a while in architecture. Came back only to find out that 2 of my classes didn't transfer from Italy. So all of a sudden I didn't have my diploma from Cal Poly like I was told. So I went back in, and I took a couple of courses at Cal Poly to keep my student loans deferred, and started working for Cal. At that time, I was living on the coast, and still going out with Donna, who now is my wife, and decided I was going to say, well, me and Don will move back to Italy, and I started working at Cal Koncepts. The Dion's
What year was that?
that was 1992, 92, 90, 91, 92, and
Right
1991
in the crazy paint job era.
Yeah, and I just moved back in, I think it was 91, and I had started doing renderings for him because he didn't have an airbrush render anymore, and then he didn't have an airbrush artist anymore. So I started doing. So I was living on the coast, and I would come over and just work on the weekends. And then it got to the point where I'm working on the week, and I'm going back to the coast on the weekends. I'm like, this is dumb. I get a house that you could actually, it's like a beach house, but you could see the beach if you got on the roof, but it still was expensive. So my lease ran out, and I moved back home to Bakersfield, and moved with my parents for a little bit, saved up some money, and then me and Donna ended up getting married, and so but I ended up staying in Bakersfield and just working for Dion, and I started my own company at that time also, so it was always Cal Concepts Air Syndicate, and the Air Syndicate came from Gianluca Manelli, my boss in Italy. He used to have a joke. He would call it Sindacato di Lagofo. He's like your syndicate of airbrushes, because he would always make jokes about there was no other airbrush artist in the area. And people are all like, because the one thing in Italy, you go there and if you buy something, yeah, they're just brazen. They're like, oh, this is nice. Is there anyone else I could get it cheaper from? I mean, they literally will ask the person they're buying from, is someone else, oh, is there any other airbrush artists out there? And Jean-Luc would be like, oh, no, I don't know. There was someone, they're gone. It's like, and so he'd always like call me the syndicate of airbrush artists, because I always tease him about being mafia. And so Sindacato di Autografo was too long of a word, so I just changed it to Air Syndicate because Airbrush Syndicate sounded lame. And so Rhyme Syndicate was popular back then, and started Air Syndicate. And at about the same time, Syndicate Minis and Compacts started around the town. Everyone assumed it was my club. I go, no, but I did all the airbrush work for them. So because almost all the cars that were in Syndicate Minis and Compacts all came from Cal Concepts. But I came right at the right time. People always ask me what's my first magazine. Well, literally the very first rendering I ever did for Dion. He ended up then hiring me to come in and airbrush the graphics on it. It was a truck for Trailmaster and another truck for Streetmaster. And both of them were on the cover of, at that time, I think it was Street Trucks magazine. No, Sport Truck magazine. Street Trucks wasn't out yet. Sport Truck magazine and Truckin', respectively. And those both went to SEMA. So literally my very first rendering I did for Dion was also my very first paint job, which was also my very first cover, which was the very first time I went to SEMA, which is 92.
Wow.
So it's kind of like when people say, I go, look, I go, this wasn't planned. So it wasn't like, because you didn't earn your stripes. I go, there is no earning. There's just do it. Just do the job and that's it. And that, one job began another. And that was the first cover of, I think me and Dion lost track. He actually knows the number, but it's over 100 covers we've had in working together for now it's, over 30 years. But we hadn't had any covers in a couple of years, but because a lot of the magazines are gone. But
Yeah.
and then going through, with Airbrush Action Magazine and Autographics Magazine and all the other magazines are out there. So it's been a long, crazy trip.
Do you have any idea how many SEMA vehicles that you have painted that has went?
I lost track of those. I do know that one year we actually fielded and we'd staged 13 vehicles
Yeah.
in one year. That freaking sucked. It was too much, but we would average anywhere from 2 to 3 vehicles a year. And
And
the
then
13
back
was
in the when we
motorcycle. Those
started,
were also motorcycles too, by the way. So
yeah, like
yeah,
2000, I think maybe was our first like dollar car. Remember when they were giving all those cars away?
yeah.
And
Hmm.
Rick Dorr one year, I think he said we had him on here last month. Like one year he took 8 vehicles.
Oh no, he was car crazy. I remember
Yeah.
we did. Can't remember what the truck was, but it was like it was the small version of the Avalanche. But it was, I can't remember what company made it and stuff. It was like a little small version of the truck, but we built a thing that had a surf rack on the top for it, and we did the paint job on that for them. And we started seeing those dollar cars. Like, let's do somewhere on our own. And so we went ahead and can't remember what our first ones were, but I know we did. We
My
did
first one was a Cavalier.
the Cavalier.
Yeah.
I think we did a. I think it was a
We don't know how
No, I
lucky
did
we
the
were,
green.
man. We
Remember the
kind of
green? Remember the green Cavalier Doug DeBerti had that had all the biomechanical on it?
uh-huh.
Yeah, we did that. I painted. It was Doug built it, but I did all the paint work on it. Yeah,
So we kind of complained about the short notice and we had to do those things really quick. But man, what I would do for a dollar car now, it's like to have a new vehicle to drive and just to get to fix it up and everything. I kind of miss those days.
I do too. We also realized that with the Ford one, the only downside with the Ford dollar vehicles, sometimes the vehicles you get weren't the best. Like
Hmm.
we got this one, we got a all-wheel drive Fusion that we were going to do. It's going to be called the Cold Fusion. It was all done with water-based paint. It was all hybrid. It was a hybrid Fusion, and it was the all-wheel drive when first went out. And I specified I want dual exhaust, and
Hmm.
he sent it to us, and I said, "What color?" And I go silver. And the reason I asked for silver is because if you ask for black, you're probably not going to get it.
Hmm.
But if you ask for silver, silver is the one that has the least amount of bodywork next to black. White, you don't want to get a white car because that's guaranteed every white car is bodywork. There's a running joke where 11% or 11 to 12% of all vehicles that come out of a factory don't need bodywork, and 11 to 12% of vehicles are black, are dark, black or silver, those dark colors. But silver also shows the bodywork. So I asked for silver. We go and pick the vehicle up. It comes from Mexico. It's a Mexico Fusion. And I remember driving behind Dion as he's driving. We got unloaded, and I'm following him. And I'm like, man, they didn't give us the dual exhaust. That's no big deal. We had Borla was giving exhaust. I just meant I had to get some headers. We had to make some. I was hoping we could just attach it. And I'm looking at it, I go, what's on the right rear bumper? And I thought there was some mark on the rear bumper. And as I'm following him, it becomes this dark circle and eventually just falls off. The exhaust was a dual exhaust, and he put the other bumper over because he didn't have a dual
Oh.
bumper.
Oh.
And that silver, the paint job on it was, I should have just said, give me any paint job. Because when I said silver, I swear they sprayed that maybe the day before. It looked like it was done with a rattle can. It was just streaks. Luckily, we were respraying the whole vehicle anyway.
Yeah.
I just asked for that color because I didn't want a lot of body work in it.
Hmm.
And then a year later, the motor blew. And so luckily we had it, we had to work a deal to get another motor on it. But I always liked the Chevys were great because with GM, I could go and pick one up at the
Yeah.
dealership. With Ford, they do that. They delivered it to you, so you knew. It's
Yeah.
like
Well, we had to
I might
go.
be I might be
We lived
getting
in the
something more
Midwest,
than
so when we got our Fords, which we only did an Escape, and then one of the last ones before they killed the program, we got a Transit Connect minivan thing, which I
Mhm.
love that thing. And we would have to go to Detroit. We were living in Tennessee then too, when we got our second one. We just went to corporate, which Carrie always went to get on, my wife, and then you pick it up at corporate
Yeah,
and then drive it home. So
yeah. With but I like to be able to pick up the Chevys. That was kind of cool.
yeah.
But I remember I had a running bet with someone. They say, "Oh, we're going to get this on the cover," and he goes, "Oh, you can't guarantee it." I'm like, "Yeah, you can. You can if you work with the magazines long enough." And then they owe me something, whatever, and I'm not going to give them crap. I go, "There's crap on the magazines that gets on there." So I said, not only that, I'm going to get both our cars on there. He goes, "You can't." He goes, "One's a Ford Fusion, the other one's a Chevy Cobalt. You're not going to have both on the cover." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." So I worked a deal with Autographics, and we had the Cobalt and the Ford Fusion. So I actually won a couple of bets on that one. Like, there was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But that was so we did that. You had your Cavalier, we did that one with the Birdie, and then we had our Cobalt, which was kind of it was kind of fun. I actually that was a fun car to work on.
I still have my last Chevy dollar vehicle before they killed the program. I have my Chevy Duramax. I got a
Yeah,
3500 non-dually long bed crew cab. I don't plan on ever selling that thing. It's got
that's
200
we
and some
never.
thousand
I
miles.
wish
I'll
we
put a
had done
motor in
that.
it.
Yeah, I wish we had done that, but we never really won. I remember we were trying to get Dodge to give us when the Charger first came out to give us
Mhm.
one, and I wanted to do the Daytona and the wing and the nose and everything, and they wouldn't go for it. And then now they're doing one. It's like,
Yeah.
so oh well. But we had
Yeah.
fun with the dollar cars. I think we sold them. But Dion, I think Dion kept he had his Flex for a while, and then finally got rid of that. So I don't think we have any more dollar cars left.
Yeah, we kept that Transit Connect. Um, I don't know how long. We put 110,000 miles on that thing before we finally got rid of it.
Yeah.
It was a fun little, it was a
Yeah,
fun.
most of them we are able to sell. Our Edge that we did, like maybe like a surf mobile was in the house color booth. Most of our vehicles were in the house color booth. We did that Urban Flex that was all graffitied out with
Hmm.
all around it, and we almost had that one sold and it didn't sell. And we had a couple of dollar cars that could have gone for a lot, but we were holding out and we kind of missed the window. But
Yeah.
Dion kept two of them and we sold the rest.
Yeah.
Just finance other builds.
Yep. Yep. We can't keep them all, can we?
No, no, we can't.
So during all this, did you have anything for yourself? Did you have a mini truck, a truck that was painted up, a motorcycle, boat? What, did you have anything personal?
Yeah, I had an R1 that I built up. It was when I was working for Jesse back then. I remember Jesse had a really cool R1, and I wanted to do all the Graves top end kit and all the stuff he did on his
I don't know what an R1 is.
Yamaha R1.
Okay.
And it's basically one of the designers that was working at the time with Ducati had left and gone and worked with Yamaha, and that's when Yamaha started looking like Ducatis.
Mm.
And I remember a buddy of mine, I did mine up. I had a Desjardins single side swing arm on it, whole Graves top end kit on it, and then MV Agusta wheels, Ducati chain set, Ducati brakes. And my buddy who was in Italy was like, "Why don't you just get Ducati?" I go, "Well, because this one doesn't cost me $1,500 to get a tune up.
Hmm.
It doesn't cost nearly as much, and it's faster. Oh, and by the way, I can let it sit for 3 years and fire right back. There's no big deal." So he gets so mad at me because, and then I had that, I painted it up one way and then painted it up another way. So that was actually in two different magazines. Two Wheel Tuner had it featured, and I sold that right before I actually moved out here. I had it for a while and I just wrote it myself. And then I built a chopper that you might have seen in the House of Color booth. It was called the Voodoo Chopper, and it was right when they came out with the Voodoo Violet. And when I designed Voodoo Violet for House of Color, I designed this chopper around it. So I worked with Rick Dalton on that one, and from Sick Customs, and it won the Builder Award with Easy Rider and toured around with his group. And then he had it for a while on display. I still actually have that chopper. Trying to sell it right now. I may actually I have a buddy of mine in Vegas that may be buying it from me, but besides that, my other two vehicles is I had my 61 Buick, which I actually never took that to the SEMA show, but I did take my 64 Cadillac. I had a big 64 Cadillac Coupe de Ville called Diablo Blanco, and that one was at SEMA, and uh, ended up selling it about 2 years later. So I actually sold all my cars, so I don't have any more of them.
Do you have plans for anything else in the future? Like,
Yeah, I
so
have a.
what's your daily driver right now? Is it just like boring one single color, no paint on it?
I've always been boring when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
I have a GMC van I love, just white. And then I've got a Bronco. It's white. I'm just bored. My Cadillac was white. Oh, it's white with purple
See,
graphic.
when we finally got rid of the Transit Connect, my wife says, she's always had used Cadillacs that she's drove. She goes, I want a plain black Cadillac. I'm going to tint the windows. You're not putting a sticker on it. You're not putting stripes. She goes, I'm in a hurry all the time, and people want to talk to me at the gas station when I'm driving something custom painted. So we just got her a Tahoe, and I think this winter it might get at least two-toned. At least two-toned.
I vicariously enjoy that through my wife. I just got my wife a Porsche, so she's got it's a buddy of mine's track car from Connecticut. So I'm the moron that buys a car that's not even street legal in Connecticut, that's been on the track for 10 years, and I bring it out here to California. So yeah, that's a winner right here. Anyway, so that's her daily driver, but she also started autocrossing it. So
Cool.
it's full race. It's badass. But
I do a lot of autocross announcing.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Yeah,
she
travel
does
to
the
a bunch
Santa
of
Maria
them.
autocross. She's going to start doing Button Willow and a couple of other areas that have some of the track days.
Carrie was just out at Willow. There
Really?
was an ultimate streetcar there. My wife was just there. She's got home yesterday from there.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess the next trip they're going out to either Button Willow or it's Laguna Seca. I forget which one. Is the next thing she's going to, but they do a couple times, quite a few times a year that they have an autocross over here in Santa Maria. It's at Santa Maria Airport. It's the old Porsche track. Porsche actually came out there in the early 2000s, built a track on the airport to debut one of the new cars, and he brought out a bunch of press and whatever, and then the people just drove this car on this racetrack. And then when he left, he told the airport, "You can have it." Airport turned around and approached the Porsche dealership in San Luis Obispo and the Porsche Club, Central California Porsche Club, said, "If you keep it up, we'll let you use it." And so it's a really cool track. And they share it with a group called the Vapor Trail Vets, which is a Corvette club. And so my wife does autocross there, and she just won the women's autocross. And then she went over and won the women's autocross at the Vapor. The top three winners at the Vets were all three came in Porsches. So really pissed off the Corvette people. And she was going up against the L Rays. There was two L Rays she was going up against. And but yeah, her Porsche, it's pretty fun, little car.
Cool. And she probably won't let you paint that either, will she?
Oh, it's painted. Well, because my buddy in Connecticut, it was Craig Kennedy, and he used to own Craytex, and so I designed a lot of the paints for Craytex. I designed all the candies or Candy 2.0 line that I still use all the time. So I designed the paint for this car about 6 or 7 years ago, and when he repainted it, and it was used to showcase his color. It's this really, really very cool metallic. It's like a 4-stage. It's kind of, I designed this psychotic color, and then now I own it. Now I have to touch it up. So it's like great, But yeah, it's a color I designed, so it's kind of cool. So it's already custom painted. So she has a custom.
That's one thing I've always sucked at. When I worked at the collision shops over 30 years ago, I was not a tinter. There was one guy in the Chevy dealership that if you needed a different variance and needed to tint it, you just have to buy him lunch. No matter what I tried to tint, it would just always look like chocolate pudding. I am terrible at tinting stuff, I guess. So coming up with a custom color, I'm not good at that.
Oh, see, some people, I don't know. It's always been something I was always pretty decent at. And when it comes to color matching, I was able, in fact, the way I would start doing murals with lowriders is that Dion would have boats come in, a lot of these Curtis Craft boats, because Koncepts is actually DBA for Curtis Craft. And Curtis Craft used to build a lot of boats, and Curtis Craft with a K, not with a C. And I've heard all the winning race boats and the flat bottoms and the pickle forks were all Curtis's back in the day. All the way up till '86 was the championship. Well, you go back further than that, and in the 50s, 1954, the first 20 cars across the Indianapolis, the finish line were all Curtis's. Yep. And Vukovic had 3 consecutive championships in Curtis's. So that's all Curtis Craft. So basically, we've got all of that to go from with that. But I lost track of. Sorry, I'm tired. I've been working for 2 weeks.
Well, I was talking about coming up with custom colors.
How custom colors? Well, we had the boats from Curtis Craft, these old lacquer jobs, and they would get a scratch in them. And Dion was like, "Can you fix? There's no way to fix these." I go, "Yeah, there is." And so I showed them a way to blend out, and I would just blend the colors in and get them fixed. And it got to the point where all of a sudden, besides the boats, the lowrider community found out. So you get these lowriders that are throwing hydraulics through their trunks and their hoods and destroying these beautiful candy jobs. And I was like,
yeah, I could do that, but somebody had to tint this stuff for me.
Oh yeah.
The place in high school that I worked at was a Corvette collision shop, but did Corvettes. And excuse me, my boss was a tournament bass fisherman. So anybody in those tournaments, he would get to fix their boats, punch a hole in them. We flipped them upside down and all that. And even in high school, I got really good at blending candies and blending in the boat flake and all that. I got really good at that. But if it needed tweaked in the colors, I always needed help. That was
You know,
not
you
good.
could probably be taught that then, because if you got an eye to blend and you can eye to do that, then you can do it. It's just a trick, and literally it's a trick.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, if you want to learn color theory, don't go buy the book that's this thick. Go buy the pamphlet that's 3 pages,
Yeah.
because
I was
color
trying to
theory is
mix
actually
a
very simple.
touch up a custom orange that was painted years ago. Some other guy, oh, it's just this color, but I tripled the pearl and did something like that. And I had a local guy, a couple guys try to help me, and they're like, "Oh, use this one," because I had paint mixed at a few places, and he
Mhm.
goes, "Put 2 drops of purple in." I just needed a little touch-up gun. And I go, "Purple," and that's what it needed. He knew that it needed purple in this candy orange looking thing, and by God,
It was knocking the yellow out of it. So okay, it comes down to here's a little trick for you right there. There's something that you know what the primary colors are.
hmm
Uh,
yeah,
Cyan, yellow, magenta, or if you can call them blue,
hmm
yellow, and red. Do you know what secondaries are? Secondaries is when you take blue and yellow and it makes green. I call
yeah,
it
yeah,
Ziploc color theory. That's what secondaries. There's something called complementaries. Now they're just saying there's 3 primary colors, there's also 3 complementaries. And when you say complementaries, those are 2 colors that actually cancel each other out to an extent where if you mix them together. I always tell people the way you can remember your complementaries is by thinking Broncos, Lakers, and Christmas. The reason is you got Lakers, which is yellow and purple. You got Broncos, which is blue and orange, and you got Christmas, which is red and green. So if you got something that's orange,
See, I'm
and
not a big sports guy, so I'm glad you explained that
yeah,
to me.
so if you got orange and you want to actually knock the orange out of something's too orange, you add blue to it. If something has too much yellow in it. Now, if you look at the orange, it's too yellow of an orange, and you
hmm
need to be a little bit darker orange, you add a little bit of that purple to it because purple will knock back the yellow. So when you look at something, if it has too much red, you want to get rid of, if it's too red, okay, add green. You get rid of it. Now, it also will darken the value because it starts darkening everything as well. So there's little tricks you can do here and there with it. But that's the trick, is knowing your complementaries and knowing how to use them in base color theory and experimenting with them. Also working with opaques and transparents. I do a lot of my color mixing using candies because they're so much more forgiving, but they're tricky. Some people don't like them. They like mixing opaques. They go, opaques are tough to mix because there's so many secondary colors inside of opaques that you start getting these tertiary colors you never even knew they were in there. You start mixing something up, you're like, where the fuck did that color come from? And it's just because it's a secondary color that you didn't see because it was made at the factory. I like working with the transparent candies because it is what you see. Caribbean blue, transparent blue, that's, or cyan blue. Hey, there's nothing there. It's cyan blue. There's nothing more basic than that. So, but yeah, you could probably do it. It's not that difficult, but it is
Yeah.
a trick. And I did it for so long, it's like second nature. So I still, to this day, I'm out there mixing colors every day for my artists here at the shop.
So how many companies have you worked with that you've helped create colors like that?
I worked with House of Color and design paints for them for a number of years. And I haven't really done much with them lately because most of my friends that run with the companies aren't really there anymore. They kind of went off on their own way. Mike Taylor's a good friend of mine. He started Ace of Shades Paint.
I'm waiting for a test sample right
Oh
now
my
for
God, that
my
stuff is killer. It is so freaking killer. The pinstripe paints are nice. They're really
yeah.
nice. We did did you see the Rat Pack, the Rat Fink Model A, with the big blown motor that was there at SEMA this year?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that purple that was on it, that's Ace of Shades purple. Really,
Okay.
really pretty purple. Very, very similar to the
Yeah,
old.
I just have a weird solid blue that I've always used on a bunch of my personal stuff. I sent him a spray out, and they're supposed to, like, this. I talked to him last week, like the test sample is supposed to be coming. So
Yeah,
they
no,
got
he's a good guy. I mean, I've known Mike for so many. I mean, he was with Husqvarna for well over 20 years, and
and
so
I get along with him too because he's an old BMX guy.
oh yeah, yeah.
And like one of his helmets that he used to do some of the guys for Factory GT in the 80s, one of his helmets, and I showed him that's how you know he's a painter. You're drinking water out of a mixing
I
cup.
gave it away.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And I lost my train of thought now. Oh, in
BMX.
the BMX Hall of Fame Museum in Tulsa, I was showing him, I sat down with him at SEMA the first time and I was showing him pictures. I was like, yeah, here's the Hall of Fame Museum because I MC their induction ceremony every year. He's like, wait, go back to that picture. He goes, look at that. Taylor Designs. There's a helmet in there on display that was one of the factory GT Pros that Mike painted back in the day. It was his
Oh,
Mike Taylor Designs right on it. He's like, "Oh, that's the coolest thing ever. I've got a helmet in the Hall of Fame."
that's very cool. No, he's amazing. That's another cool thing besides working with the paint companies. He himself is an amazing. I used to always tease him. I go, you need to get your painting more than you do, because people don't realize how good he is as an
Yeah.
artist. Amazing painter, and just a good overall guy. I've always got along great with him.
So what paint company are you? Are you one of them that uses a little bit of everything? Or are you married to one paint company now?
I always tell people, if you have only one paint in your shop, you are not a painter, you're a freaking salesman.
Hmm.
You should be using tons of them. I have one shot. I've got Ronin. I've got uh geez, what I got my let's see, I've got, of course, House of Color. I've got the new Ace of Shades Hustler pinstripe paints, which are amazing. I also have I just got finished using some Tamco Speed Clear. Oh my gosh, that stuff was killer. Only because the Rocket Clear from House of Color is backordered, can't get it. And I use Imron. I've got old Eggwell's Exalta now, but I use a lot of that Imron for our industrial. If we're doing a big fiberglass display or something's going to be outdoors or something in the park, like we just got finished doing a bunch of railings for Epic Universal over in Florida. We did the How to Train Your Dragon, the Viking training camp section. That was done by our shop here at Daniels Woodland. And I just got finished Emroning all of the railings out there because the stuff is bulletproof from hell, especially with the flattening agent in it. And Disney uses it also. So I use that. PPG, I use a lot of PPG products. There's not a new company, but a company I've been working with a lot lately is a company called Reynolds Smooth On. And what they do is you mostly supply silicons and different paints. And Craig Kennedy, when he left Cratex, went to go work at Smooth On and developed a product, because I was working with him on a product called Scenics, which is a scenic paint used for doing scenic work. You know, whether you have scenic work at a theme park, or you're doing a movie set, or you're doing whatever exterior scenic work, faux finishing interiors. And it's called Maker Pro, and that's the line. Scenic was the original name, and he started making a new paint over there at Smooth On now called Maker Pro, and we just got it accepted in Universal and Disney. And so I developed paints with him. Now I still do stuff with Cratex, with Dennis, Dennis DiLorenzo, the current owner of Cratex. I'm trying to think of any other companies. I worked back in the day. I worked at PPG, Dick Huey and Scott Pearson from PPG way back in the day, and then George Sweat from DuPont back when they first came out with Hot Use. I was using that stuff. So I even worked with Albert over at Alsa back in the day when they first were coming out with some products. And then there's a guy over in Florida now. I've used some of his products. Tropical Glitz. Manny has that company over there. Great.
I didn't realize they were from Florida. Yeah.
They're over Florida. I think Tampa Bay. I'm not sure exactly where, but Manny has a great company called Tropical Glitz. That's a good paint company. And then also a friend of mine, Artem Ra, who owns a company called Spray Gunner, and he's got a number of paint lines that he is developing over there. He's out of Tampa Bay, also in Florida. So I do work with him as well. So I'm always, and then I work with Dave Monig at Coast Airbrush. I've known Dave for 30 plus years, and Dave has a number of products I've developed with him. And that he's at paint products as well. He came up with my first House of Color paint kits, where we took the House of Color and put it down to smaller containers so that airbrush artists could buy 1 ounce bottles. And we had videos and kits and step-by-step instructions on how to use House of Color, not just for models and small things, but people would buy a small batch of paint just to do a helmet. You had to buy quartz and go bankrupt, and that really launched a whole level of artists using House of Color. And I would say properly using it, automotive paint. And then, like I said, I went from that to segue into the water-based companies to get them to start making paints that were more professional, in my opinion.
I've still never used out here. We don't have to in Tennessee, so I've never even tested. I got some buddies. They're in areas they don't have to, like my buddy Chris Ryan from South Carolina. He loves the water for metallics and stuff like that because he said the way it pops. And I know some shops they said, oh, you can paint the quarter panels and 2 months later do the doors and it's going to match. And it just kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The
new
technology
technology
done in water.
Yeah, when I worked with Cratex and Kennedy, we developed the Candy 2.0 system. And it was because I found out there were some waterborne anilines. and there was also some waterborne metalloons dyes. And so we started working with these, and they're very stable. We had to find a good binder, and so we were trying to play around with these water-based urethanes and different acrylic urethanes. And we came across a waterborne aliphatic urethane, which was non-yellowing, had a built-in UV absorber, but it wasn't a hinderedimine, and it wasn't a tinted absorber. It was actually just the way the molecule was in the aliphatic was a natural UV
You're
inhibitor.
just making up words at this point.
No, I actually I do a lot of work with companies, and it's like I get to use my previous chemical stuff I learned from in aeronautics and stuff when we do a lot of composites. But the aliphatic urethanes they're getting very popular in solvent as well as water-based, but it's allowed, in my opinion, the Candy 2.0 system, I'll put it toe to toe with any solvent-based candy. And it is just as durable and a lot more easy to use, a lot more forgiving to use. But it's different. I tell people, I go, if you're going to start spraying the water-based like you spray your solvent, you're going to fail. But if I spray solvent like I spray my water-based, I'm going to fail also. So I still use the same thing. I've got multiple guns in my shop set up that I use.
So
Some I use
what is
water-based,
it
some I
different to
use
people
solvent.
listening? What is the different to spray water than solvent?
It's the amount of atomizing you're going to use and what you can do with it. I had one guy say, well, the problem with water is you have to let it, when you mix it up, you have to let it sit for 15 minutes. I go, well, guess what? You should be letting your paint sit for 15 minutes after you've mixed a solvent reducer and you stirred it, let it sit. You let your clear. You should never mix up clear and put it in your gun and spray it. You should let it sit for at least 15 minutes. Water-based is the exact same way. You've got to, people always make the mistake of thinking that heat is the key to drawing water-based. It's not, it's air motion. And I also tell them, say, well, you know, this different baking booth you use with your with water-based and you do with solvent. This is true, but in my opinion, you should never use a baking booth. Now, I've had people get really mad at me, but I'll tell you, there's a difference between a baking booth and a non-baking booth. There's not a single paint out there designed for baking booth except for baked enamel and powder coat and coil coat. Paint, when you do the baking booth, what you're doing is you're speeding up the time. But what you're doing is if there's any problems that are going to happen bodywork wise, it's good. It's not going to happen now, except for 60 days later, maybe. Because you just went from something that's going to take 6 days to cure. It's not a curing booth, it's a drying booth. Now it's going to take 30 to 60 days to cure. And if a problem develops, normally you'd see it in the shop and you fix it. Now it's a lawsuit. Now it's someone bringing a paint job back and complaining. But what you're doing is you're rolling the dice, because now you can get 4 times the amount of paint jobs out of your shop or even more in the same amount of time. And you're rolling the dice that either nothing's going to happen or it will happen, but they're not going to come back, or they will come back, but you can con them into paying you to fix something that was your fault to begin with. You look at most people that have baking booths and they have lawsuits. I mean, constant people, I'm assuming, or paint jobs coming back, warranty work all the time. If you see someone that doesn't have a baking booth, usually you don't have it because the problems happen right away. You fix them. So I've always been an advocate against it. Now, talking about go back east to Minneapolis, you need to have a heater just to be able to function in a booth. That's not a baking booth. It's a heated booth. There's a difference between a heater. We use a heater in our booth in Bakersfield when it gets cold, but we don't bake. So that's the big difference. But I always tell people, I go, they always say it's the difference between water and solvent. I go, honestly, neither paints like temperature extremes. They don't like cold and they don't like, you know, and I one guy say, well, if your water-based paint gets frozen, it's no good. I go, guess what? Your solvent-based paint is no good either if it got that cold. You just don't know any better. And you're going to use it and you're going to wonder why it delams, why the tape pulls it off, why it doesn't spray right, you know. So there's not a lot of differences. The technology is very similar. And I shouldn't even say water-based because they're not really water-based, because it's like, you know, the reducer I'm using in Cratex, or the reducer I'm using in any of the waterborne aliphatics and stuff, it's a polyglycol alcohol with deionized water. You do not want to drink this stuff. It's not good for you. The deionized water is not good for you to drink anyway, but because it's creepy. It just tastes weird and it's not good. It won't go into your system. But you know, it's mostly alcohol. You know, a lot. It's still a solvent. It's just not the same type of what you could say a caustic solvent. Unfortunately, I guarantee some people in California are figuring out that, oh my God, there's solvents in water-based paint. Good, we can go after them now too. So make everything illegal in this state.
So when did you start getting into the movie industry stuff?
I've always been a nerd when it comes to movies. I just love this stuff. And I would had a couple of friends down there. I ran into through Coast Airbrush. One of them, Tim Gore, who just recently passed away, who's one of the major special effects guys in the industry. And he introduced me to a lot of people, Rick Baker, and he introduced me to the guys at K&B, which is Greg Nicotero. You may recognize his name from Walking Dead. He's the producer of all the Walking Dead shows. He actually is in a lot of those movies as well. K&B did all the special effects for all of Tarantino's movies. He introduced me to Spectral Motion, Mike Elizaldi's company that is known for Hellboy movies and a lot of just amazing special effects stuff. And then I got to meet Glenn Hetrick over at Alchemy. Glenn Hetrick is known for, he's the guy with all the tattoos and the gothic looking dude from the Face Off show on TV. So I got to meet all of these great people in the industry. Started going to trade shows and Monsterpalooza and just some of these haunt shows that are trying to be more trade related Halloween based shows or monster shows. And then I found out I was really good at repairing stuff and showing them how to blend things, whatever. And also I noticed that these guys, they're used to building things in the movie industry that are good for like maybe 7 days and then throw it away. Well, that's no big deal. Now, some of the practices are horrible. It's like, God, I can't believe you're using that material. I can't believe you're doing that. Well, it just needed to work just long enough. And I get that. But now he discovers a whole nother industry because a good example is something that you used in Walking Dead 10 years ago. Now, all of a sudden, that character, that little skeleton bicycle girl, for instance, is probably worth 6 figures now to a collector. And all these old Disney props and all these old movie props need to be restored, and they're jacked up because they were built like crap. And some were built.
So we had, you know who Randy Lorenzen is, photographer.
Yeah,
worked for Hot Rod, everything.
Not personally, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And he talked about when there was bigger budgets for photo shoots for like Hot Rod. He was specifically talking about when he shot Cadzilla and he went to one of the movie theaters and you could rent backdrops on these big canvas things that were painted and everything. And you could look at them in a catalog, he said, and it's like, I want this one. And the one that he used for the backdrop of the Cadzilla was in a scene from Spaceballs, like when they were flying in the air canal.
Yeah.
That's what the backdrop is from the Cadzilla. He says, we rented it for like $3,000 or something like that. And they're like, okay, so Spaceballs will be out. Okay, yeah, you can run it. You can use that one because the movie will be out before the magazine will. So yeah. Cool little trivia.
I with Nicotero, he over at K&B, he had a number of product because I started working for him, just doing. He'd bring me in as like a last minute. Someone needs to work all night long to finish a deadline because something's got to get shipped to Toronto for a movie shoot. So I would jump around, and this is when I was still painting full time at Koncepts, and so I would just take a couple of days off and go down to LA. And I was making good money.
How far a drive is it from LA to Bakersfield? I guess I don't know that.
If you're just going to Hollywood, it's an hour and a half.
Oh, okay, that's
not that big a deal. Yeah, it depends on traffic, of course, but about an hour and a half to some of these places I would go to, Burbank or whatever, and so they started giving me things to work on because you noticed when I was working there on a project, I remember seeing something was kind of messed up. I said, we need to restore that. I'm like, I can fix that for you if you want, and I just really quick fix it. And they'd be like, oh, okay. And then, so I got a couple of cool jobs. And then I had a call from Nicotero and he says, hey, we're restoring the last known cast from the mold of Bruce from Jaws because it was actually being used as a sign at a wrecking yard for years. And we took it and we got a hold of it and they want to put it in the Academy Museum. And so they had me go down there and they had already restored a lot of it. And I came down there and did all the paint work on it. So it painted a 26-foot long, 19-foot tall, 16-foot wide great white shark and all the teeth and the gums in the mouth, everything. So that was kind of fun. So got to do that for him. And then he started giving me other jobs. He got a hold of one of the original maquettes that was done for the first Alien movie of the derelict ship that was sculpted by H.R. Giger. And it was in really bad state of disrepair. And so I restored that for him. And then he had a couple of props that were Rob Bottin is this amazing, he's retired, but he's an amazing special effects guy that did all the effects on the original John Carpenter's The Thing. And and it was a couple of props from that. It was the Thing Dog that was in that, and I did some work on that for him. And so I would just do a little work here and there for different companies. And then I remember they needed a bunch of Klingons painted for the Star Trek Discovery show that was on for a while. That was being done by Alchemy, and so I went over and did with Glenn, and me and Tim would paint a whole bunch of Klingons, dead Klingon bodies, or our face makeups and stuff. And it was kind of cool because I got to meet people like Doug Jones, who's one of the most famous. They call him a suit actor because he wears all kinds of suits. He's been so many different characters. And I got to design and paint some things that he got to use. Then I also did a portrait. I started doing more fine art. I started selling my artwork at this Monsterpalooza show that was twice a year. And I would just have paintings I would do of Frankenstein or whatever. And I did one of Doug Jones and all of the characters he'd portrayed, which is, Pan from Pan's Labyrinth, and Abe Sapien from Hellboy. And he also played the thing, the character from The Shape of Water and all this stuff. So I had him in the center with all of his characters around it. And then people started buying prints of that. So I started doing original paintings. And meanwhile, during this whole time I'm doing stuff in the movie industry, I'm also starting to work for Disney as an artist. And so Disney brought me in to start doing work in the park as a live, because I could paint on stage live. And a lot of their artists couldn't. They chose not to. So I would do it. And so it was fun. I would talk to people while I'm painting and during food and wine events and stuff. And then they started wanting to have my stuff in the galleries. And so I got licensed by them. And next thing you know, I'm doing work for the galleries, and did the 50th anniversary of the Haunted Mansion and the 50th anniversary of the Pirates of the Caribbean paintings for D23. And then I did a series of guitars. If you want to look them up, you type in Haunted Mansion guitar or Haunted Mansion guitar Craig Fraser. And I did a series of 13 electric guitars. It was the first time they ever did musical instruments for Disney. I just want to paint on them. So, because I also, this entire time, actually, since the 90s, have been painting for Fender guitars on the side, working for their custom shop, mostly Jackson and Charvel. And at that time, I had also expanded over to working with a company out of Vegas called Minarek Guitars, and I do a lot of their custom artwork. So I brought in Minarek. We designed a guitar for Disney for the Haunted Mansion. We did 13 of them, as well as an acoustic, and we sold all 13. And they went for 13,000 each. And then the acoustic went for 33,000 because of Club 33 stuff. And those all sold. And then I just kept on just trying to find different things with Disney. I didn't want to be this typical Disney artist doing the same picture, like I do a picture of Mickey. So I do a picture of Mickey, but I did a picture of Mickey as Jack Sparrow in the chair from the Pirates of the Caribbean. That painting did really, really well. And so that was fun doing that stuff. And then got licensed under Lucasfilm, doing some Star Wars stuff with them. And then started working with Imagineering as just
what does it entail to be licensed at a big company like that, like Disney? We know we've all heard stories on how protective they are of their brand and stuff. So what does it entail a little bit, if you can talk about it, on how it takes to get licensed like that?
They approach you pretty much. I mean, you can't, there's a show in Vegas called the Licensing Show that people go to they either are going there to look for artists to license, or they're going there to get licensed. And license just basically means, it doesn't mean that I can go and paint anything I want and sell it. But it just means I'm doing a licensed IP for them. Therefore, by definition, I'm a licensed artist, and they have a certain level.
Kind of like an approval stamp almost.
It's an approval stamp. I mean, there's still, like when I'm working here at Daniels Woodland, my current job, we do a lot of NDA stuff. But the cool thing about here is we work for Disney, we work for Universal, we work for everybody. And we have NDAs with a lot of them. So some things I can't talk about, some things I can. But they're all with licensed IPs. And a lot of times, if you're just hired at one point to do one thing, you're just going to be hired to do that job. You're not necessarily licensed. Disney will then go and do a contract with you if you're going to work for, and there's a lot of different divisions in Disney. I can't remember them all. There's probably at least a good 3 or 4 different groups within Disney that have artists working with them. And some are overseas, and some are just in the parks, and some are actually in galleries outside the parks. And my contract is for in the parks. Now, I do have relationship with galleries outside the parks, but it's non-contractual. and it's not set up as a licensed IP. So I'll do non-licensed stuff. I'll just do other stuff for those parks and stuff. But I have had some of my licensed work in those galleries outside the parks. It gets kind of complicated, but it's something I can't talk about. It's like half the time when people ask me, I go, it's confusing. A lot of times, I don't have an agent. I probably should, but I just I kind of am fascinated with the level of confusion it is. But anytime you're dealing with IP, there is the need to be licensed. If you're licensed, it's a protection for you, but it also protects them. Make sure that they want to make sure that they have you doing this. Now, I don't have an exclusivity contract with them, which a lot of times I think some companies would love to have exclusivity contracts with artists. I don't work for Disney. I work for Disney as a contracted independent freelancer. So because of that, I have no exclusivity, which allows me to do stuff for other companies.
So what do you like to do the most? Do you like still doing the cars, motorcycles, boat stuff, or you just like the mix of it? Then you're not bored with one thing all the time.
Yes. It's I'm kind of on the spectrum. I'm Asperger's syndrome, so I got a little bit of
I think
autism going
that's
on
what I
here.
told somebody the other day. I went to a school. It was before the, oh, you're ADD, ADHD. I would have had all of them, because your
Yeah.
parents get called. He doesn't seem like he wants to study and doesn't want to apply himself. Well, hell no, I don't want to be at school. I want to work on my car. I want to ride my bike. I want to be on the farm. We would have had all of us guys that are artists, car builders, whatever. We'd all be diagnosed with
I
all.
was the oddball in the fact that I liked school because I could see how you could run the scam. By the way, by the time I graduated from Cal Poly, I had a 4.0, not because I was any smarter. I just figured out the system. And I figured out if I do this, I can do all this other stuff also, because student loans also can buy 600 Ninja. So there's all kind of neat things you can do when you're in school. Yeah, I found out that the way that I keep my interest in everything is by not doing one thing. And I roam around. I just, if I don't have 10 projects, I get paranoid about like, oh, I got people that freak out if you have 10 projects sitting around. I probably have more than 10. I like when I don't remember, I always tell people, I go, you say, oh, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I go, I've got so many, I go, there's baskets, I don't even know what are in them anymore. I forget about it. And because of that, I'm never really, I've had people contact me that were in some part, I remember back in the day when I was doing club windows, I did tons of club windows, art of noise. Oh my God, I would do so many club windows for mini trucks. And then it just kind of died out. And I started doing something else. I ran into a buddy of mine and he was like, oh man. And he was a club window painter also. That's all he did. And he was all like, yeah, I'm still doing the windows, but man, it's hard. I got to drive free. I go, you're still doing them? How do you still doing them? I go,
Yeah.
it's still a business. And it was really weird. I've always never trusted any one thing. Because you always say when something's bad, don't worry, it soon will pass. Well, guess what? When something's good, don't worry, it soon will pass. Nothing's going to last.
Yeah.
So I
In
always,
this industry, I'm hot rod, but I do announcing stuff too. So I've got other baskets, right? But the hot rod stuff, that's why I kind of joke, but it's true. It's like I never hired full-time help after 32 years
no.
because your customers, you're building this hot rod that's their play money. They lose their job, they get sick, they get a divorce. You can't always trust that customer is going to pay their bills on time. So you got to pay your staff. And that's just, I've always just been a Midwest farm kid at first before I moved to Tennessee. It's like you don't put yourself out too far, especially in this business. That's how I've
Well, you made the
lasted for
comment
over
about
2 years.
this, and it is cyclic. It's a
Mhm.
sine wave. And the cool thing is that you have something that's a sine wave. Rarely does it mimic another one. So if you get enough of them, guess what? You end up with
Yeah.
a nice level.
Yeah.
You just ride the top of that wave. And so whether I'm doing the guitars, I'm doing Disney, I'm doing cars, I'm doing bikes, I still do pinstriping, I still letter trucks. I had a diesel truck company in town was hiring me until they moved out of town because everyone's moving out of California. I still do murals inside of homes. I still do t-shirt designs for companies. I did a
What do you,
Last
what
year
is the
I designed the Iwata booth for SEMA.
what is the weirdest mural inside of somebody's house that you've done?
Hmm. I never had anyone have me
Like
do
if
a
you had
really
somebody
weird
like me,
mural.
it's like, oh, I want you to take
It
this
was
big
K
wall
Daddy.
and make me
It
look
was
like I'm the guy from whatever mafia movie. Have you ever had
no,
like
it was actually no, it was Kyle Gann, K Daddy. You remember him? I did his when he used to have a double wide trailer he lived. It was really cool, and I did this just huge mural in his in Brat Fink type stuff and hot rods. His cars
Yeah.
all Brat Finked out. That was fun as hell. Guys, I go over there, we just drink and eat pizza, and I just be airbrushing as we're talking shit and watching movies. So
I
that was
remember the first time I went, he lives in multiple houses since, but he's back.
yeah
Went to Rick Door's house because he lived in Glendale, Arizona. This was
Mhm.
when we were doing our first SEMA thing. So
Yeah.
20 some years ago. He lived not far from where Carrie's dad lived. And I walked in and his whole wall, and Rick's like, oh, I forgot I had that, was leopard print. In his living room was all leopard print. You could see
Oh, he
Rick Door
loved
having a
leopard
leopard
print.
print wall, right?
I did do an interior. There's a guy named George Delfino who was one of my clients. I've known him forever, known him since high school, and big land developer in Bakersfield. And he had a theater, like 20-person indoor theater in his house, and all the walls are done leopard print in the ceiling, but big leopard print like the fur. So it was
No, yeah.
it was like it was and it was kind of that was yeah that was weird.
Kind of cool though, but I don't know about the wall. I can see having a wall, like, yeah, but
It was
yeah.
the wall and the ceiling of this entire theater. It was all done leopard print. It was done so like the leopard skin, the dots get smaller and then they get bigger. So it was actually done correct in that respect. And
Crazy.
then I've been doing flash artwork and just artwork in general. Commission people will hire me to do artwork, and then I started doing tattoos about. Haven't done a lot in the last few years, but I was tattooing pretty steadily for about 15 years.
Designing them or actually doing the ink
No,
work?
doing them themselves. Well, it started out, I had so many tattoo artists owe me money from artwork that they all wanted to trade out. And I would just end up looking like a circus freak because if I traded out the money they owe me. So I started, like, I tell you what, you teach me this and I'll teach you this. And so one of my good buddies, Franco Vescovi at Vatican Tattoo, I did a bunch of artwork for him and we traded. We were just friends. And I would hook him up with airbrush artists because he's a phenomenal airbrush artist too. And he has done most of the tattoos on me, and I learned how to tattoo from him. So basically, I say I don't do as much anymore, but I have a few friends that are clients. I have this that oh, you still doing tattoo? Like, oh yeah, if you want me, not to I have a good back piece I'm doing for this guy or whatever. So I'll break the stuff out again and still do it every now and then.
That's one thing I've never done. My hands are so terrible. I can't. I've never learned to pinstripe. I always have to have somebody pinstripe my stuff for me.
I had to pinstripe because I got tired of paying people that were just ripping me off, and I just
Yeah.
and it was kind of funny because the pinstripe industry, it was uh you couldn't get any of these guys to get along to figure out what to put together in a book. And I was working with this one publisher back east, and he was working on something called the Pinstripe Masters book. And he says, I can't get any of these guys to send me stuff back, and they all are fighting over who's going to be in the book and who's not going to be in the book and who's going to be the first in the book. I'm like, and I'd already come up with my book at that time. My book had actually gone bestseller, and we sold 400,000 copies of my first book.
And
And
what was your
so,
book?
Automotive Cheap Tricks and Special Effects. I think I sent you a picture of that, those pics I sent, and that it sold 400,000 copies, and in the first 10 years. So I worked with them as a ghostwriter on the book, and I remember contacting all the pinstripers I knew. And it was funny because they were just fighting, and they just I like look like I was going to put this together. So I wrote all the articles, I took all the pictures, I had them sometimes take pictures, and I put the articles together, and I had one guy get kind of mad because he wasn't in the book, but I was like, well, there's another book coming out, part two. I only can put so many. I think I had 24 pinstripers in there. He said, well, everyone in that book's your friend. I'm like, yeah. Of course. I go, now, some of them I don't know that well, but I look up to them and I'm friendly with them. I go, there's not a single person in the book that I think that I can't stand, because why would I even waste my time on them? I go, luckily, it's like, oh, that guy's really well known. Yeah, that guy's has the same style and just as good, and he's not a dick, so I'm going to deal with him. So, and it was just kind of funny. I had a chapter, and one guy goes, I know you're not even a pinstriper. I go, I never said I was. I go, I'm not a member of the Pinheads. I go, you're right. I go, but I'm not really a joiner. I go, I'm an airbrush artist, has own a pinstripe brush. I go, but you're lucky I'm not a plumber, because if I wrote your damn book, I'd have a chapter in there too. And so I go, I show my stripe. I did this slash stripe that I was kind of known for back in the day, but I literally picked up pinstriping because I couldn't depend on pinstripers. Even our good one, the one I learned a lot of pinstriping from Ron Beam. He was so busy, and he also would be touring a lot of times with. He was a tire specialist with NASCAR, so he would go on a tour because he was, you find a guy that knows tires, You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna bring him in, and he'd be either busy working at the racetrack redoing the signs after someone at Bakersfield Speedway took out a sign, or he's pinstriping his own jobs, or he's on tour. So and he was our main striper. So it got to the point where I had to learn how to stripe, and not just decorative, but pulling long straight lines. And he taught me, and I learned from another number of other guys. And I was lucky enough to be friends with people like Von Franco and Kovacs and a lot of these great guys. And I mean, I was very lucky in this industry because I would just run into people, and some of them
Mm-hmm.
were my heroes. I wanted to meet, like I really wanted to meet Ed Roth because I was a Big Daddy Roth fan when I was a kid. I had all the stickers and the shirts and everything. And then I was lucky enough to get a chance to actually work with him, and was a licensed artist with Copra Nason to do his artwork. I would actually, he had all of his prints, and the artwork was serigraphed ink, and I would come in and airbrush it like his old T-shirts. And then he would sign them. They would get sold through with the Copra Nason gallery down in LA. And then I would do stuff for the Rat Fink reunion. So we had a pretty good relationship for the last 8 years of his life before he passed away in 2001. But again, getting to know him and just hanging out, listen to his stories. And that's why I said that I love the custom culture because of the stories in it. You know, being able to hang out with Don Bowecki, the Egyptian, being able to talk to Larry. I got a chance to meet Larry Watson before he passed away. I got a chance to meet uh, Von Dutch, Kenneth Howard before he passed away in I think in '92. I met him back in the 80s. So it was it's been very lucky to meet these people, but also being able to like learn from them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, Pete Santini was a great influence on our graphics and our paintwork back in the day. But so was Dick Vale. Oh my God, Dick Vale was like my hero when it came to graphics. And I remember we were at a show once. He had this huge tractor trailer, and I was looking at it, and he goes, "Yeah, I copied the last look." And I'm like, well, not really, but it kind of, he goes, "Yeah, I did." I mean, it was just like, I was like, Dick Vale just copied a mini truck I painted. That's kind of badass, so.
So let's talk about that. When was the last look done, mini truck people?
Um, the last look was done in 95, 96.
So
Right.
I was at Battle in Bama this weekend. Big truck show and car show and pro streets and stuff, mini truck area, all that. And that truck still gets brought up to this day.
It's
And there was a truck
it's
there
crazy.
that I think you guys painted, but so I go, which one is it? It was something that has like a little bit of stained glass in the back window. It was a
No,
purple-ish
no, no,
base.
no. That's Charles. Charles did that. That one's called oh, geez, I forget the name of it.
And I was like, before I went over to look at it, they're like, you know it. Well, then they pulled up a picture that there was a group at a show, and Last Look was in that same picture.
Well,
So,
Fester, Uncle Fester is his nickname. I can't remember his real name. Fester owns the last look, and he owns that truck that Charles did.
okay, yeah, that's what they were
Uh,
saying. It's like,
he
yeah, he
owns
owns
both of
this, and
those.
they showed me a
Yeah,
picture. So all
yeah,
these years later, that Last Look still comes up in conversations at truck shows. Yeah.
yeah. It's I've had so many. I think I've done 3 different interviews with the ODB. I mean, the different podcasts, and they always are
Mhm.
asking all the stories, and they say, "What's this mean? What's this mean?" And there's little tributes to Courtney Hollowell in it because Courtney was back then. It was right when he left mini trucking and went to go work for Hot Bike. And so there's a picture of his mini truck Mazda, but it's got chopper bars, and he's with
Yeah.
this camera behind him. He's riding this chopper mini truck, and it says on the side mini biking. And so we always tease them saying, "Yeah, do your mini trucker. You're not a biker. You're a
Yeah.
mini trucker."
Yeah. Of course, Courtney got brought up when we were at a truck show too. So he was a good guy. He's one guy that I don't know how long it's been since he's gone, but I refuse to remove his number out of my cell phone. I still have
Oh,
yeah.
no, I actually have an old message of his on an old recording. I have a tape. It's like, no, I'm gonna get rid of that.
I talked to him like a month before he passed, and we talked about street rods, like
Yeah.
wire wheeled, hammered, Little John Stance Model A wire wheel street rods. So then he went on to work for what was it, World of Rods? They were doing there for a little bit, and he featured a
He
few
was
hot
jumping
rods.
around to so many different companies. He was still
Yeah.
doing some, but yeah, you go to SEMA, and it's like SEMA wasn't the same without him because
Yeah.
you just get used to him coming up behind you and reaching up and grabbing your nuts and just hi, and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
hi Courtney, and or
Yeah.
him come up with this deal, handing me. The funniest part was is it got to the point where because I learned a lot of photography from him also, and I used to do my own photo shoots for all my magazine articles, and I got pretty good at it. Well, I go to a car show and he'd throw his camera rig on me, his film. He's like, take a bunch of cool pictures. And I'm going to go drink. And I'm like, great. So I'm taking all these pictures from him and realizing like I'm doing this, but it was still very for him to trust me enough to take the pictures of stuff. And it's just, him and Sean Carlson were both great friends and both, I mean, Sean Carlson is the one that did the photo shoot on Last Look, the one that was in our shop. And, did a lot of work with us on helping to get the Last Look built. And at the same time, we worked on a lot of his vehicles too. So
Yeah, I never met him, I don't think. Maybe it's SEMA, just a quick pass. I don't think I ever
you
met him.
probably did meet him. You might have met him back during. I can't imagine you didn't meet him during his Mopar stint and when he was doing the racing and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it seemed like that would be right up your alley. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, great guy. Gone too soon, same as Courtney.
Yeah. Yeah. Courtney introduced me to a lot of people at SEMA. That was back in the day when, like, now everything's not like it used to be. There was so many things that, I mean, I met the right person just randomly in a hallway that turned into a TV show and me moving to Tennessee. I mean, it was like,
Yeah.
now some people don't, or maybe it's too many people at SEMA, so you don't get to run into the right people all the time. I don't know, but yeah, I remember
Yeah, I had someone
Courtney.
come up to me. It was a person, I can't remember what his name is, but he's been involved with SEMA for years. And he's like, you haven't been to SEMA in a while. I'm like, I actually took quite a long break, but I did it for 25 years. So I think I'm allowed to take a break. And I'd been there, but I just hadn't been contributing, hadn't been doing a lot of stuff. I've been doing vehicles, but I wasn't there the entire show. And it was just, and he goes, were you the guy that did the airbrushing at the House of Color booth? I'm like, yeah. He goes, not the group with all the airbrush artists. I go, well, no, I had all the like 20 airbrush artists working for me at House of Color booth, just doing stuff, and also in the Iwata booth.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, no, no, no. He goes, there was an guy who was just airbrushing t-shirts. I remember, he goes, I have a Batmobile that I got a picture of George Barris holding it, this guy. And it's not you though. I was like, did the guy have like a red goatee? Because I go, that's freaking me. I'm just old. And, and so he was like, and he's skinnier. Yeah, shut up. But it's like, and I go, I have that picture too.
No,
Like,
this guy was a young, good-looking guy.
yeah, good looking. Yeah. It's like, yeah. He was a Raider fan also. Yeah, he still is. But it was funny because he goes, well, you were he goes, I think you were the first airbrush artist there at SEMA. I was like, yeah, because we had to get permission to be there and stuff. So it was kind of funny that you look at how that started. And I don't know if you remember when the circle bar used to be a big thing with the painters. Well, that started by accident back before the internet and before phones. Everyone had cell phones. People would be like, what are you going to do? Who are you going to meet? Where are you going to meet at? It was hard to get a hold of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always say, just meet me. And I'd, be talking to people. I said, just because we would do email, but we didn't have email on our phones yet.
Yeah.
I'd go, just meet me at the Circle Bar, because me and Dion would always stay at the Hard Rock. And so it was painters from other countries and like my buddies from Canada and whatever. And we just meet at the Circle Bar because you're not going to see each other. You go to the House Color booth, but some of them I had to meet ahead of time to give them passes. And so I said, okay, meet me at the Circle Bar. So that's how it started. And so we just started doing that. And then Coast
One of the coolest, I've met a lot of cool people at the Circle Bar. The coolest person I met at the Circle Bar?
Who?
In the BMX world, I met Bob Harrow.
Really?
Yeah.
Just chilling?
Well, he was there because after he sold Harrow bikes, he works in marketing. Like he's done marketing for the Red Bull Formula One team and, come up with the go-kart company and Moose motocross outfits. He's worked, like I usually see him either at SEMA or PRI every year because he still works in that.
Oh, wow.
That's very got a marketing firm is what he does, and design stuff. And of course, he's got a new bicycle company too. But yeah, ran into Bob Harrow at the Circle Bar.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I'm always back in, I kind of miss the Circle Bar. It was always kind of cool. And we'd always be the Thursday night at SEMA, and you could see you'd see Art Himsel there. And you just see these great painters, Hot Rod, the Pinstriper, just all these guys that were just.
Are you talking Vaughn Hot Rod?
Yeah, Vaughn Hot Rod, yeah.
I spent a lot of time with Vaughn. He's been on our podcast. We did 5 Caribbean cruise charity events with O'Reilly and
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, he takes all of his stuff on a cruise ship, talking about getting
Oh,
permission
wow.
at the
Yeah.
SEMA show. And he goes, I can teach everybody basic pinstriping.
Mhm.
I go,
Yeah.
I don't know. After about
No, he
15
can.
minutes, he goes, move over. Let somebody else have your chair.
He gave up.
Yeah.
No, he is an icon. That guy does not age, and he's just amazing. And then King Kong, I forget his full name. I'd always mooch a cigar off of him if I saw him. And then back in, I mean, Bob O'Dunn is no longer with us. He would always be there, and Frank Magoo's no longer with us. But um, Bob Spina, he's still there, and so I see Bob Spina every now and then. So it's
My
just,
guy out here that I use if I need, he's from Louisville. It's Danny Taylor. I don't know if you know
mhm.
Danny.
Yeah. Not my
Um,
first name, but I know who he is. Yeah.
did a lot of graphics and pro street cars and stuff. And I'm doing an OBS truck, and he's kind of got some health issues, so he doesn't really leave his home shop.
Yeah.
But we're really good friends with him. I had him on my TV show, and he says, I'll come to your house, stay at the house, and help you on my OBS. I just want a little bit of help with Danny, just to say, Danny Taylor helped me on my truck. That's just,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
one of your buddies and somebody I always looked up to, and he's close enough, and I can't afford to have you come out and help me. So yeah.
Yeah, you can. I'm cheap. Come on. I'll come out and chill. Get some moonshine.
Yeah.
I know you got to have some over there.
Yeah, I don't, but I can find you some allegedly. So actually, we're what 35 minutes from Jack Daniel's plant.
Oh, that's no, I've never toured the Jack Daniels plant. I always
It's
wanted.
I like to see how stuff's made. It's very, very cool to see.
Yeah, I
It's
toured
a
the
town of
Jameson.
like 200 people.
Yeah, I toured the Jameson place over in Ireland, and that was amazing. So now
Yeah.
I gotta go check out Jack Daniels. So
Yeah.
very cool. So, we need to do something together. It'd be fun.
Yeah, would be very cool. So talk about what you're doing now. You mentioned a couple times the place that you're at. I forget the name and what that.
Daniels Woodland, DWL Studios. It's a scenic shop. We're located here in Paso Robles, California, Central Coast. We're right in the wine industry. There's like 300 freaking wineries around here. So being pretty much a consistent wino, that's a dangerous place for me to live in. I've been a wine freak ever since Italy, so I come here and now I live in wine country. But we do a lot of work for not just the movie industry, but we also do a lot of work for scenic work for theme parks. Like so, I mentioned we did the Viking training camp over there. I did some work on the side for Galaxy's Edge, and that was separate from what I do now. But I actually met these guys when I was at a gallery event. I was with Disney for I think it was an anniversary or something, and I was selling my paintings, and they had their wood carvings there. And if you ever seen any of those really high-end redwood, sequoia, old growth redwood, 3,000-year-old carvings of Mickey or whatever that are sold there, and they're like sold anywhere from $1,800 to $3,000 for these carvings. Those are all done by Daniels Woodland. So they do a lot of other stuff as well. We do a lot of work, Club 33. We do a lot of work for display items for
What
Imagineering.
is the Club 33? You said that once before.
Club 33 is the club at a lot of people know about it at Disneyland. It's considered the most exclusive club in the world. I don't know if it
Okay.
is, but it's a very exclusive club that Walt kind of created there for some of the original shareholders, and they called the key holders for Disney. And it was for the longest time the only place you can get alcohol in the park, and it was for the business executives to go there, and then he started selling memberships to it, and it became a restaurant, and it's literally a 5-star restaurant. It's amazing food, and it's membership's pretty high. It's tough to get in. They opened it up again because they opened up 3 different Club 33s in Orlando at the different parks, but there's still only the one Club 33. But they also opened up something called 21 Royale in Disney, and that's actually it's up in Walt's apartment above the Pirates of the Caribbean, and that's a dinner club thing that anyone can sign up for. But I believe it's for 12 people only, and it's something like about $1,000 a person, and you reserve it, and it's like amazing 5-course dinner, cocktails, dessert. You get to watch the fireworks show from Walt's apartment. You get a tour of the whole apartment, and you and 12 friends, or you and 11 friends. I remember these first announced it. I was like, that's too expensive. No one can afford that. And then it's like sold out for it's because I think they only do it like on the weekends. It's like sold out for a year.
I ate
So,
at the Waffle House the other day. That's probably a little different food, isn't it?
I love Waffle House. Because I found one in Orlando. It's like Waffle House.
Actually
A
built one
little
in
bit
our
different.
town last year. Yeah, we have one now.
Well, if you really want to, if you go to a place called Carthay Circle or this Carthay Circle in California Adventure, that restaurant, as well as Napa Rose Restaurant, both have the same chef as the Club 33, and the food's amazing. So you get a little taste of Club 33 without having to get a membership for it.
I'll write that
But
down.
we do a lot of artwork for them because there's different clubs within clubs, there's different organizations in Club 33, and they'll have events throughout the year. And so we'll do like we do a lot of photo ops. We do here, not just we do it for the NFL, and we've done them for companies like Subway and Wendy's and just big, huge, giant displays. They did a big Pirates of the Caribbean. They did the Black Pearl, did a scale version of a large version, like 30-foot long version that toured all the way around the United States. And so we're always doing a lot of those kind of items. Right now, we have a couple of large. The popular thing is now when a movie comes out, instead of just having those cardboard cutouts you see in the theaters, now you have a huge prop from the movie or something. So we build these look like huge props. When Nicolas Cage's movie came out, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, we did 3 6-foot tall busts of Nicolas Cage's head that were 3D printed. We have a huge 3D printer here that my son runs. Is that literally it's 4 foot by 5 foot by 6 foot tall. We can print.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so we had 3 6-foot tall Nicolas Cage heads we did for that. Didn't get to meet Nicolas Cage. I was kind of bummed, but still it was kind of cool. So it's literally every day is something different. It's like, hey, we're going to do that. We're doing this for the new Mattel theme park opening up. We're doing this for the new which isn't open up in Phoenix supposedly next year. So we're doing a lot of stuff for them. Disney's got new parks opening.
What's the new one opening in Phoenix?
It's called the Mattel. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's Mattel's new theme park. It's opening up in Phoenix. It's near the stadium.
Cool.
So it'll be open up, I think, 2027. So we're doing a lot of stuff for them using their IPs. Their IP basically being you've got He-Man, Master of the Universe. We did a full-size version. I can talk about because we already had it as a display show. We had a 8-foot tall He-Man, an 8-foot tall Skeletor we 3D printed and painted, and a full-scale size version of the Castle Grayskull, but the toy, the big giant, and then the characters were like the toys. And so I was no idea how many people were like in love with that stuff. He-Man people came out of the woodwork for that because our entire booth was Castle Grayskull. It was 20 some odd feet tall.
Wow.
And so we've done that for them. We're doing some Hot Wheels stuff for them. We're building some full-size Hot Wheels that are going to be on display for photo shoots. We're doing a Thomas the Train. We're doing a miniature golf thing that has a whole bunch of.
I still buy entirely too many Hot Wheels.
I actually try and avoid buying them because I get when I start collecting things, I have to have all of them, and that's bad. So
yeah, I collect the new ones as the transporters, and they release like 4 every couple months, and they're all numbered.
Oh yeah,
and they're almost to 100 now that they've put out over the last so many years, and I'm missing like 6 or 7.
Do you have the Ed Roth series that came out?
I don't have the Airbrush.
Oh, that was the first time they came out with that. And he came out, they had the Mysterion, they had the Orbitron, they had, all of it, and he had a little display you could put him in.
Oh, I have there's 4 in that, and it's got his truck in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that right over there.
That Tweety Bird or Tweety Pie. The Tweety Pie car.
There's either 3 or 4, 3 or 4 in that set, and then right over there I got the Boyd Coddington Hot Wheels too.
Yeah, they actually had 2 of them. So there's 4 of them, and then another 4 was done because he had Surfite, and then I can't remember which ones were in which set, but yeah, I remember getting those. I still have those.
Yeah, well, I didn't get them new. I bought them at a swap meet or something.
Yeah, I remember when those first came out. So got my set, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah. So the new ones, I didn't grow up on red lines because like when I started buying Hot Wheels, red lines were kind of leaving. I only had a couple. So I don't really buy and sell red line stuff because they're expensive. So I just basically buy the stuff that I liked as a kid, and those were mostly Blackwall stuff. So,
yeah, I've got a buddy of mine, Rocky in Bakersfield, that his entire garage and half his house is nothing but Hot Wheels. And by the way, he's got one of the vans, the Volkswagen surf
the surfboards on it. Oh my.
Yeah, he is hardcore. And it's crazy. I mean,
those are worth a lot of money.
I think 6 figures now, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so they were only given away to employees. It never was sold. They did sell the van, but in that configuration, it was only given to employees.
Okay.
Kind
Yeah.
of cool. I mean, I'm not. Someone's going to go on your
Yeah.
like he's
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
wrong about a lot of shit. So get
Yeah.
over it. I lost track twice, two conversations. So give me a break.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of my questions that the wife likes to ask is event wise, what is your favorite event that you like to go to? And this could be anything, automotive, film industry, and what's one event you've never been to that you've always wanted to go to? Again, car, motorcycle, boat,
I've
industry.
always wanted to go to the Riddler, the big car show at the Riddler competitions. We had a car we did. Me and Dion did called the Sandman that was about 8 years ago or 7 years ago that
Mhm.
we got in the top three, so we made the great eight, but
Great, yeah.
we were in the top three. And but I always want to go to that show. Never got a chance to go to it.
I haven't been for years there. If you've been to the Grand National in Pomona, it's well, one, because the outdoor parking at Pomona, you don't have that at Detroit because you're in Detroit during the wintertime. So
Yeah,
Pomona, the Grand National Roadster Show it's double the show for that. So,
yeah,
but Detroit is cool. It's probably been 8 years since I've been to Detroit though. But
yeah. I've never been to the Detroit auto show. Been to the
go
LA
to,
auto show
go
numerous
to
times.
Detroit, go early, go to the Henry Ford Museum. There's a lot of stuff up there to see if you make it to Detroit.
I've been to Daytona. Um, I've never been to Sturgis. I was was curious about Sturgis.
Yeah. I've never been to Sturgis either. We had Brian Clock from Clockworks, a good friend on here, and
Oh yeah.
he's like, dude, come up here. I'll take you everything. I'll treat you and Carrie like kings and queens. So we need to go to Sturgis sometime with Brian Clock.
Yeah, that guy is amazing. I love it. Love his stuff. Yeah.
His podcast was really good. He's a very uh I don't know how to say very motivational guy. Things that he
Really? Okay.
says and very very yeah. And sometimes he's joking, but he says something was like that's like the coolest. Yeah, I need to get my shit together a little more type thing. So yeah. Brian Clock, good, great interview there. So what's did you say your favorite one that you like to go to?
Oh no, I was just telling the ones I want to go to.
Yeah.
The favorite one, I'd have to say, hmm, that's really tough. I would say probably for automotive, it would be SEMA, and it would be I'm trying to think of which SEMA it was. I think it was the SEMA where we had all of the Hall of Famers signing in the House of Color booth. It was like when House of Color's booth was the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
The NACE show was still going on, so it was still there was an automotive, and it was just cool because they had so many just amazing painters that you never get a chance to see, and some of them I didn't even know if they were still alive were there, and I got a chance to meet them. And that show then, and uh, I got it. I mean, I remember we had posters at all of our vehicles. We had SEMA. We're done there, and we're signing the posters. And a good buddy of mine who's no longer with us, Mike Lavalle. He's been gone 8 years now. I can't believe it's been
Oh,
8 years.
wow.
But Mike Lavalle was there signing with us, and
Is that the one poster I've seen when Daryl Starbird still had his museum before he sold it?
Mhm.
There was a House of Color poster on the wall, and it was mostly the older guys. It was him
Yeah,
and maybe Winfield, and they were all photoshopped. And before like when Photoshop, he goes, "Look at that! I don't even look like that." He goes,
it
"I
was
looked like that
horrible.
20
It
years
was it
ago."
was so we
But he
thought we were
loved it because he's like, "Look how good shape I was."
we
So
thought it was so bitchin'. It was just like, oh, that's so hideous looking now.
yeah, but
But yeah, it was
his
that
House of
post.
Color story, he always told me was lucky to have lots of good mentors and how to
Mhm.
deal with sponsors and hookups and all of that stuff.
Mhm.
And he goes, House of Color one time years ago, long, like I don't know want to say when it first came out or whatever, but long time. We're talking,
1956.
yeah. So Daryl Starbird's been around
Yeah.
for a long time, and he goes, they were talking to both me and George Barris about being sponsored spokespeople, basically
Mhm.
used in ads. And he goes, and George wanted product, and I forget the number. It was
George is a businessman.
right. And Daryl looked at him. He says, "So you will furnish me for paint, whatever I build." He didn't do customer cars, so it wasn't as much as some people would have got.
Yeah.
But he was doing 5, 6 cars a year at that time for himself and to go out and painting this one and repainting that one and freshened up to go to all of his shows when he was doing that. And he goes, I'll do that. And he goes, that relationship lasted, I swear he said like over 40 years.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
goes,
because
I
Mossy
probably
honored
got
that
$1 million in free
until
product.
Valspar bought the company, and then it changed. But
Yeah. And he goes,
John
then,
honored it for a long time.
and then the last car he painted, he reached out and no, then sent an email, had somebody help him send in a letter or an email explaining who he was. And he goes, they sent me stuff. But he was only doing like one every few years. But he goes, I figure they probably gave me $1 million in product. I was like, yep, probably so. Yeah.
I got so much product from them. They were very good. If the vehicle was going to be at SEMA or was going to be in the magazine, they would give me product for it. And I never abused it. A lot of painters did, unfortunately. And but they were always very, very, very good to me. But I remember, yeah, the company had been around for, like I said, 56. This year is their 70th anniversary.
Okay,
And
so the first thing I painted House of Color was a motorcycle at my own shop.
mhm,
Tell me what I did wrong. I did the base colors, torn graphic. This was early 2000s, right?
mhm,
And then candy brandywine over the whole thing.
yeah.
And I did, the string test, all that on the tape. And I started putting clear on it. First or second coat of clear I put on it, it looked like I poured paint stripper on it.
Now, were you using all house color products?
Yes, all house color. Sealer
Um,
on.
all I can say is it was if it started basically the candy that you sprayed on it was it the catalyzed candy or was it the base coat candy?
Back then it would have been the catalyzed. There was no base coat candy then.
Okay, your candy had already kicked off too much.
Okay.
So it was starting to kick. And how many coats of candy you put? So that's the problem is that you didn't put a lot of coats of candy to get that color you want.
Maybe
And
5 or so.
yeah, so you're doing the taste, you're doing a little not taste test, but the little touch
Yeah.
test.
Uh-huh.
That's telling you the last coat that's out there. Meanwhile, what's underneath is already kicking. So by the time you put that fresh clear on the top, the solvent started attacking it and it reacted, started wrinkling. So
I should have put the clear on quicker.
what I would have recommended doing is leave the candy, let it cure, come in the next day, Scotch-Brite it, just scuff it up, and then just hit it with the clear then. Let it cure a whole day.
But if you Scotch-Brite candy, doesn't you don't see the sand scratch in it?
No. Scotch-Brite just basically it's so light, it's not going to do anything.
That was the first one. I've done a lot
You
of
probably
other
didn't even
colors.
need to Scotch-Brite it. You probably could if it's within 24 hours. You probably could just clear coated it and it wouldn't have mattered. But I like to just go over and scuff it. It also knocks off any little nibs or dust that may be on there. Just a used red Scotch-Brite in some water and just go and you knock in a little bit of shine down. You open it up.
I redid it and it worked and it
Yeah.
got an Easy Rider calendar, featured in Easy Riders and won a bunch of bike shows. But whenever it was featured in all the Easy Rider stuff, you couldn't see the paint job because it had some chick laying on it.
Well, and then the downside is candy paint jobs photograph horribly, especially out in the sun. They look either like bright and then dull and or black, if it's a really deep candy. So yeah, I remember we were sitting around at it was a NACE show with House of Color. It was a huge booth, and it was right when Valspar bought House of Color and just poured money into it, but John still had full control over everything. And we had the last look truck there. And it was, you could play football in this booth. It was so big. And it was back when NACE was actually bigger than SEMA, money wise. And I remember John was like, what do you want out of this industry? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you're kind of an odd duck because everyone else I can kind of figure you're just kind of like, you just do your thing, you do whatever. I'm like, I guess I don't really have goals. I just do it's fun. I enjoy this. He goes, well, you gotta want something. I go, yeah, I want my name to be on the can because I knew he was reconfiguring. They're getting ready to do the Shimmerin 2 line, and I knew they already had Daryl Starbird and Arlen Ness, whatever. So I said, I want my name on the can. He goes, oh, it is. And I was like, because I knew they had the new cans out with the new logo, and I'm like, really? And he grabs, he goes, yeah, look, see, Arlen Ness, Daryl Starbird, thousands of others. I remember that was a good joke, but it was and that's back then it was like I thought that'd just be kind of cool. I just enjoyed hanging out with him and listening to stories. And I talked to John like probably about 3 weeks ago, and I mean it's 70-year anniversary of the company.
That's crazy.
He's still, dude.
How old is he now?
Do the math. He's got to be almost 90. I think he's 88 or 89.
It's Starbird. I talked to him a few weeks ago. I need to talk to him again because I helped do the Hall of Fame voting and everything. He is 94, going to be 95.
Yeah. I think John was the young guy in the group. And there, who was the other guy? There was another bike builder that was tight with him. I forget his name. That's another show I've never been to. I always want to go to Daryl Starbird show.
Yeah, it's different now because
Yeah, I meant back
I
in
mean
the
it's
heyday.
still, man, it's the biggest indoor car show. They put
Yeah.
1,100 entries, cars and bikes in there. Then on the lower end, they do one night's a demo derby, one night's burnout contest, then it's pinups, pinstriping, kind of the rockabilly part of it all, a little
Mhm.
bit of swap meet. It is it is humongous. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
they have more. I think Detroit gets maybe 800. The Roadster Show gets almost 800 indoors, not counting the outdoor move-in cars. So they get, man, they squeeze some cars in there. It's a, and that's why we had another painter guy on, Ryan from Counts Customs,
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and
we have good friends.
he's a really good guy, man. And he
You know, he
came.
actually was one of my students at the Airbrush Action Getaway back in 1994 in
Wow,
Dallas
he must have been a
when
good
he was
student.
when he was in Texas. Oh, he's a great student. He was an amazing artist already. But
Yeah.
that was back when he had a company called Chaotic Customs, I think it was.
Okay.
And he was out of he was in Texas back then. That's when he did that little Amigo, that little
Yeah.
Amigo that was all lime green with the graphics and stuff. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
always think
I've
it's
known him
cool
ever
when I
since
bring him
then.
up to other people because of all the stuff that I do, been on TV, but now I'm the MC, so I'm interviewing all these
Mhm.
people, and it was at Starbird's. They brought him in as they always bring like 3 or 4 featured guests and put them around the circle.
Yeah.
So if you reach out to them, I bet they bring you out as a featured guest to that show. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be
I've
and
I've always been kind of a low key. It's kind of like I'm always amazed when people know who I am
yeah,
because I never was that unless you were in the airbrush industry and our airbrush magazine or certain shows and the workshops I taught. But I'm not on TV. I think I've been on a few shows in the background. I worked for Jesse, but I never was on Monster Garage, and worked for Billy Lane, but I was only on one of his biker build offs.
Billy lives close to me now.
Billy does.
He lived close in Tennessee, moved back to Florida, and now he's back and he has a racetrack now for his vintage motorcycle racing.
Yeah, the Sons of
Sons of
Speed.
Speed. They're doing that Friday. I can't make it there Friday, but Saturday at his event is a national flat track race there.
I love that stuff he's doing. It's
So, yeah.
amazing.
So I'm gonna
Yeah.
run over. So his place is like 35 minutes from me now.
Oh wow, cool.
And
See,
then
another reason to come visit you.
when he's done with that one, and my wife gets back from Power Tour, we're going over to his place and record him on the podcast. He said,
Oh, well, definitely have to say hi to him for me. I
yeah,
painted about, I think, 3 or 4 of his hubless bikes, and
yeah.
I mean, he's not doing that kind of stuff anymore. But I always love doing his. Always would do the Gil Elfgren style pinup
He's
artwork.
got one more he's building now because he's building it for a guy that I know.
Oh, really?
He's
Okay.
building another hubless bike. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember the one that burned down?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I painted.
Yeah.
Remember he called me up, and he was all like, "Hey, I got some bad news." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "The bike get burned down on the way to Laconia." I'm like, I go, "You okay?" He's like, "God damn it. You're the only motherfucker that actually said, am I phone okay?" I'm like, "Well," because he told me that the gas had leaked out of the tank and it was all
Yeah.
over the place and whatever. And I'm like,
That was the one on the Biker Build Off show,
yeah,
wasn't
on the
it?
biker build off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm in the background of some of those shots on there, but it's really funny. There was a whole interview with me. There was George Barris as part of that build. All kinds of people are involved in it. But because the bike burned down, there's a 4-minute interview with some fat cop about the bike. And then while it's burning in the background, and no one else got the interview. It was just kind of funny because he was like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's, I go, dude, I've worked for I worked for Nickelodeon back in the 80s. I know editing. Why do you think I'm not on TV shows? Unless I
Yeah.
can control it, I can't control it. So
You got another reason to come out to Tennessee to visit to see us and him. So
yeah, I definitely see him. Yeah, say hi to him for me. I haven't seen him in a long time, but great guy, majorly underestimated. Guy's a genius when it comes. I mean, people
yeah,
don't realize his knowledge of mechanical engineering
yeah.
and stuff, and just really good guy.
So we talked about your book,
Hmm.
and there for a while you're not doing that now, are you on YouTube? You used to do like a lot of like how-to stuff on there.
Well, all my how-tos were actually done in DVDs, and they
Okay.
were done
Okay.
in VHS back in the day. I had 14 or 15 different VHS tapes. I had 25 different DVDs. Those all started getting, I can't remember the name of the company that people started throwing stuff online without permission and stuff. And I didn't have any control over it. It was a publishing company. But because those things came out on torrents, that was at the torrents channel. You could go and get videos that were just downloaded illegally, and then no one was buying DVDs anymore. So there was no more market to make them anymore. So, and I would usually work a deal where I didn't get royalties because I hated having to hound people on it. So I just give me a payoff amount. So most of my videos that were on YouTube are popping up, were just downloaded by the companies, either Airbrush Action, Autographics Magazine, Coast Airbrush, Iwata, House of Color, Createx. Those videos are still out there if you look for them. I've had people say, "Oh, I need to put up a website with all the videos on." I'm like, I don't really. I just shut down my website. I have a Instagram and a Facebook page. That's about all I have. And my Facebook page is dominated by, I do a sketch every night, and I think I'm up to 3,424.
You post them sometimes on. I don't have Facebook, but you post them sometimes on Instagram too,
No,
right?
Instagram. I do it on Instagram, and it bleeds to Facebook. I don't really post on Facebook. I just do Instagram, and it goes to Facebook automatically.
Yeah.
And so I do a sketch like every day, and then I alternate that with just a photograph. So that's about all I really do online. But I use that for portfolio. People will say, "Go look at that. Go look at that stuff." So, and then you can just do a search and find my stuff pretty easily. So I'm not really beholden to having a website.
Cool. So is there anything else we missed? I'm sure there is. There'll be something tomorrow. I'll be like, oh, I forgot to ask him about this.
No, not, I mean,
Again, you've
that's
been on over 100 covers that you quit counting. You don't know how many SEMA cars you've been a part of.
No,
I think it's cool. I knew a little bit about the Hollywood stuff, and I didn't know how much that you've actually done of that. So that's really, really pretty
I've done about 350 features I've written, and as well as tech articles and stuff. And then I've had 3 books out. I have my first book, Automotive Cheap Tricks and Special Effects, and then part 1 and then part 2. And then I had that Pinstriper and Masters book, the #1. I didn't do part 2. That was written by someone else, but I did #1 on that. I do have a book I was going to write, Automotive Cheap Tricks and Special Effects 3, and it's pretty much written, part of it, but most of it was going to be just a bunch of stories. And then a couple of tech articles, just to keep, pictures to make
I think I've only got part 1. I don't think I have 2. I'm a book and print collector. I have a big library at the shop.
The part 2 was disappointing because it was supposed to be hardback, and me and the publisher had a disagreement, and he put it in firm back instead of hardback. So I always was kind of mad by that. And there was some other editing I wasn't really thrilled by, but I think it's a better book. I think the second book is by far a better book than the first one, but the first one's much more collectible to people. Just they're trying to find it. It was I'm like, well, it's out of print. I'm actually trying to get the publisher to just release it and reprint it, just because people want it. And the publishing company shut down, but the owner still has all the rights to it and stuff. He's got the printing rights. I have the usage rights. So if I wanted to, I probably could redo the entire book, but I have to make changes. And I'm not a publisher. I don't really want to do that. And so I just kind of like doing what I'm doing now, which is I have artwork. There's a gallery in Simi Valley called the Lewis Gallery. They probably have the largest amount of my artwork. They probably is a good 50 or 60 pieces, originals in there, and they sell prints as well. When you asked me about one of my favorite shows, it used to be Monster Palooza. I love going to that. I kind of stopped recently just because it's all shows kind of shift and change, and I didn't really want to change in that direction.
Where's that show at?
It was in Pasadena, and it was a big show there. I'd say out of all the shows I've ever been to, the funnest show I went to was probably D23. It was just really cool, and which was it's a Disney. It's a big Disney show. It's every other year at the Anaheim Convention Center, and it was kind of cool because I'm a Disney nerd. I love everything Disney, and they had so many displays and so many things on there and panels, and it was just a great show to go to.
So are you one of those they call the Disney adults? When you go to the Disney parks, do you dress all up?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't dress. This is my dress up. I dress up as
maybe a set of ears every once in a while, right? You got to wear some ears every once in a while.
I had people ask me where I got my Raider hat with ears, and all it was I had a set of ears that clipped right here. So I had my Raider hat with the 2 ears on. That's as far as I went, was that. And those fell off at a roller coaster. So, oh well, too bad. No more ears. But no, I don't go to the park as much as I used to. I really, when I say Disney nerd, I get claustrophobic around a lot of people, and so I don't really like it when it's packed. I love working after hours at the parks. I love working in the
I think it'd be awesome to be in there after hours.
Oh,
We've
no,
only
it's
ever
the
been
best.
to California, Disneyland once before the Roadster show. We've been to Disney World 2 times, 3 times, maybe. I don't know. But
Yeah.
uh, if you could stay overnight in Cars Land and steep in one of the little teepee things, the cone thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm a big Cars fan.
I've been there at night. I didn't get sleep there overnight, but I've been there. I've been at the park and working with some of the team there late at night doing restoration work and doing paint work. And that's just cool. I mean, of course, it's probably worn off on them by now, but I go there, I'm just like, oh, it's like
Yeah.
it's just different. And same thing with I spent 3 weeks working at Universal with the parks closed, and so the magic wore off on me on that one. But it was still kind of cool to be able to just walk around the Isle of Burke and walk around the Universal when it's the new Epic Universal, which is an amazing park, by the way. If anyone gets a chance to check it out, it is. Yeah, I can't wait to see what Disney, because it's always like back and forth. It's like a Rocky movie. It's like, okay, Rocky loses, but Rocky wins, and Rocky, back. So Disney comes out with Galaxy's Edge, and then and that answered for Harry Potter, and then you've got they had a little bit of a Harry Potter thing, kind of. It's like, it wasn't that big, and then Epic Park just went boom, and also Disney's going to be like, what's going to be next with Disney? So waiting for Disney to fire back on to see what they do with Epic, which we work for both, so it's a win-win. We're both like, yeah, you need to kick their ass, and then you need to kick their ass. You need to hire us. It pays a lot of money. We'll help you kick their ass. So it's kind of fun, but yep.
That's very cool. Yeah, that's stuff that we've never had anybody of the 100 and some that's been in stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to hear that.
It's different. I mean, I've had people, it's like they think I'm out of the automotive industry. It's like, no, I'm still doing cars, still doing. I got an old Lincoln that we're building for SEMA with a friend of mine here, and I do a lot of work with Kyle Hogue. You might have met him. He's the one with the giant low blow, the double blower.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's his, and he's the one that built the Rat Pack car the blown Rat Pack car that we did last year.
yeah. Okay.
And so I'm doing stuff with him now and a couple other builders. So I'll
So
still do
you
that. But
still do stuff with Cal Concepts?
oh yeah, me and Dion
Is there just D on there, or was
Kyle,
it?
Kyle left in 2000 and started Kate Eddie's Customs.
Okay.
And that was his own shop. And he'd always wanted to go off on his own. So he started his own shop. And then it was me and Dion and Lambie, Brandon Lambie. And we have another guy, Nino Brown, that does a lot of our welding and stuff. But it was mostly just me and Dion, really, and Lambie. And then we would have different upholsterer guys that we would use here and there, Victor and some stuff. So, but yeah, we're still doing the same thing. We're moving to another location. Just because the landlord, it's just things change. And so Dion's got another opportunity for another location. So we're going to be moving over there and just still cranking away. I mean,
I'm not sure I asked you, but maybe we got sidetracked and didn't get an answer. If you could build one vehicle, car, bike, did we say that? What would you do?
No, you never asked me that. I've already
build a crazy mini truck try to outdo Last Look, or would you do?
I kind of like the way Last Look. I think we didn't build Last Look to. The funny thing is, we built Last Look just because at the time, us and Color Shop were big competitors. Eric Coleman, and remember Eric was saying, okay, for Spring Splash, or Spring Jam or Summer Jam, it was one of those shows. It wasn't Spring Splash. It was the Spring Jam or something. Summer Jam. He's like, come up with 5 different trucks. I'm going to kick your ass, because it was always about paint. Who kicks ass with paint, not building. And Dion's like, look, I'm just building one truck. Just building one. I'm building a Toyota. And it was just our shop truck that we had bought. And he goes, I'm building the Toyota, and you build one. And whoever wins gets bragging rights. And it was 1 year, is like a year away. And the year came, we released Last Look, and he didn't have anything at that show. Then he had what was called the Ahead of You truck, which was always trying to compete back and forth with Last Look. Never really quite did, but it was Sean Dell's truck. It was a very, very nice truck, and it did win. The 1 year it won Best Paint, we won Best of Show, but it was always because they wouldn't give Best Paint to the Best of Show winner as well. So it was funny because people always thought it was really heated competition. But I actually used to work for Eric on the side. Eric would have me come over and do pinstriping for him or airbrushing for him, because he didn't have a good pinstriper airbrusher either. So we had a friendship, and he's another guy that's passed away, sadly, because he went way, way too soon. Just very, very cool dude. And but it's always, I don't think I'd want to come out because we built that truck just to kind of go against Eric, but we never intended it to be what it is. We didn't think it was going to. Matter of fact, the running joke was we had just kind of finished building that truck for Childress suspension or Childress Engineering, and they took a Corvette chassis and put a truck body on it, and they built it like a NASCAR, and they took it to NASCAR as some NASCAR event, and it was the pace car, and that one truck launched NAS truck because people all of a sudden say, wait a second, we can make trucks because this thing was a NASCAR Corvette NASCAR style, but it was with a truck on it, and they just went out there. People lost their mind with this thing, Childress suspension. We did the graphics on it for them, and we did a lot of stuff for Childress back then. And so when that came out, I go, well, if they're going to come up with a NAS truck, and they started doing NAS truck the next year, I go, they're going to have a mini truck series. So we built the last look to look like a little mini NAS truck because it had the full roll cage and it had the way the engine was all done. It wasn't all high performance, but it was just like a little race truck. It was these fasteners holding everything together and the big scoop on the hood, which actually is off of an old Curtis Craft pickle fork. It's a wrecked hydro. So that scoop is actually the front nose of a hydro boat that was on there. So what we built it for was not what it ended up being. So I think if we actually attempted to build something better than it, we wouldn't. It would just be.
It's like trying too hard.
Yeah, I
so
think.
Then what would you build? Would you build? And you get to do. The good thing is it's hard to answer that question because you get paid to do a lot of cool stuff.
I do, and the thing is, I always can manipulate people into building the things I want. So OPM, baby, other people's money. And so I do live vicariously through many people where they're driving around my dream vehicles. One thing I've always wanted to do, and I've never gotten a chance to, is I want to get a Factory 5 Daytona and build one of those with a Coyote motor in it.
That'd be cool.
And I just think it's one of the coolest things Shelby ever built. And that's something I want to do.
We have one of them Factory 5 cars, Daytona, and it's all painted the baby blue with the orange stripe.
Yeah.
And they're from California. They come to a lot of our autocross events that I announce.
Yeah, I just probably will be. I'll probably bastardize it by doing the Gulf paint job because I just love that.
That's what this one has is the Gulf paint job.
Oh, it's the baby blue, white, and the orange.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, I would probably do something similar to that, but a little bit different. But I just wanted to. I always wanted to build one of those. I remember seeing one there at Factory 5 at SEMA, and just like this, in my opinion, it's like one of the best built companies out there doing that kind of stuff. And I like the Cobras; they're cool. But I just really thought that's just a kind of cool car to build. So
a lot of people build Cobras. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. And then I've always been looking for another 68 because I had a 68 SS when I was in high school and 396, and I found another one, but it's just like those things where.
We skimmed through high school. What was your first mode of transportation in high school?
My first, when I was 14 years old, my dad let me buy this Camaro. It was burned out. It was an old show car, and it was called Mr. McNasty was the name of it. Because when I sat it down, it had Mr. McNasty written on the side of it, and it was a 68 SS 396. No longer had a 396 motor in it. Had a burned out 327 in it, and the whole car had actually burned to the ground. But it had a Mako Shark Corvette front end on it. Just weird. I mean, everything molded, Frenched, flared fenders, Hornet door handles. It was just a weird looking car. This is from the 70s. And that was my first car. And I dropped a 396 into it, the Muncie M22 Rock Crusher. And that was my daily driver to high school. And then started street racing it. We had Pacheco Road and they used to have a thing called Grudge Night out from OSA. You paid for tech and you can go out there and race it. And I had a guy named Larry Wilmer, who was Don Prudhomme's Engine Builders, my dad's good friend. He helped me build the 396 up. So at its pinnacle, I had that thing with a tunnel ram and two Predators and running. And the cool thing about Bakersfield, we had a Trick gas station there. It was an actual gas station, black and white. It sold Trick and Win fuel. So right next to the airport. So I could run the thing on Trick, and it was so people that knew me back then, it's hilarious because it was always primered with rally stripes, but different color primers. Yeah. And
But
I
still with the
was,
nose and the flares and everything on it.
yeah, everything was all, and it had those old rocket rims, like the same lame ass wheels that were on the Corvette, summer Corvette. But the joke was people at Noon back then said, you used to always make fun of all the painted cars, and you call it trailer trash. And then later I become this guy that doesn't that paints. I go, yeah, well, there's still something under the hood. Me and Dion did that one S14. I don't know if you ever saw the S14 that we had at SEMA about 6 years ago, and it was a S14 JDM car from Japan. It's basically the 240, but the S14
Okay.
was just made legal in the United States. S15 still isn't legal in the United States, and we dropped a Viper motor under the hood with twin turbos. So 2,500 pound car with about 1,000 horsepower Viper motor.
Yeah.
We even had the thing set up so you could, with the power with a fuel management system where you could switch over to alcohol. And we were going to take that thing out to Bonneville, and that was right when all of a sudden Bonneville was crap because of the rain and everything like that. So we didn't get a chance to do that or La Mirage. And Dion still has it. We've never done anything good. It's easily at 200. I think it'll do 240. It's crazy. But I always
it stays on the ground.
I'm not driving it.
Yeah.
I had my buddy over. I don't know if you know. Do you know Whiskey Saldana over in Vegas? Whiskey Pete. He owns a company called Whiskey's Auto Distillery over there.
I got a good friend that does my drive shafts in Vegas. He's a Bonneville racer too.
Yeah, well, Whiskey doesn't do the Bonneville stuff, but he's the one that tuned our Viper, or the Viper motor in the 240. But Whiskey has that the 1924 truck, yellow truck. It's all patinaed with a big blower. It's his daily driver. Drives it all over Vegas. But yeah, so I still keep in touch with all those guys and do that kind of stuff. But as far as like the car goes, I think probably that's the one I never built a kit car before. Never built it. I was going to do something like that. So who knows? I still might.
No.
I get my pamphlets, every month or so from Factory 5. There's this, it's new. I'm like, and Donna's like, oh, you're gonna look at your crack. I'm like, it's my crack.
Yeah. It's like the Sears Christmas catalog come in.
Oh gosh, it's bad. Yeah. And then Whiskey's always telling me, hey, if you get that, I'll do this and I'll build this for you. I'm like, oh, and then Donna's like, oh, you're gonna spend all your money on that. So meanwhile, I'm spending all my money on her Porsche.
Yeah.
Hey, but hey, she's racing. She's having fun. It's great.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Cool. Yeah.
So I figure I live vicariously on my designs to my clients. I live vicariously on my vehicle and my racing to my wife. So it's better driver than I ever was anyway.
Yeah, that's very cool. So I think we'll wrap this up for this one. I'm sure maybe we'll come back and do a part 2 sometime. You say you don't have a website anymore, but tell everybody again where they can find you on social media.
You can find me at Instagram. It's at Von Fraser, and it's not me being clever with Von Dutch. It's back then everyone used the name Fraser because of Fraser Crane on television. So it's just Von Fraser, Fraser, and that's my Instagram. And then with Facebook, it's just Craig Fraser Facebook. And you can go there and check it out. And but go to Instagram. You can check out my drawings, make comments if you like. Easy to find me. You can also get a hold of me at Daniels Woodland. You go check out danielswoodland.com and you can see all the stuff we do there. Tree houses, shooting galleries, animatronics, all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's pretty nuts. We do a lot of interesting things here.
You do
since I moved here, we have a car show now. We started since I moved here. So getting bigger and bigger. We do it for the Toy Bank. It's like a Toys for Tots thing, but it's a different organization. So we got up to 200 cars now coming here. We had, matter of fact, Gene Winfield's last car show he had before he passed away was here at our. We did the big fundraiser for him, and then we had a memorial show after he passed away here in Paso. But yeah, we had the big burnout competition and everything. So it was kind of. It's funny. I leave Bakersfield. I'm creating the same culture out here with Paso. I mean, Paso's had a great culture back in the day with KOA and then before it moved to Santa Maria. But
yeah, Penny always gives me a hard time. I've never made it out. I never made it to Paso Robles. I never to her show, and I never made it to Santa Maria yet.
Yeah. Well, our show is the first Saturday of December is our car show that we have, the Toy Bank car show, and it's just a fun show. It's just all the locals, and we got Kyle's Club, Local Banditos, which used to be me and Dion. We used to be in that club back in the day. These show up at the show, and we've got people from all kinds of different clubs around the local areas. So it's a good show. It's a really nice area to be in. I kind of like the people saying I'm retired. I'm not really retired because I'm still working my ass off, but I live up by the lake and I like it. It's nice. So
Cool. Well, you definitely have a lot of baskets with eggs on it, as you say, going on, and I want to
always
thank
looking for
you.
something more. Always looking
Yeah.
for something more.
So we've been working on this, try to get you on. We talked at SEMA, and then you're like, "Hey, don't forget about me." And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah." Then we tried a couple times, and it's awesome finally having you on the podcast, man.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, man.
Okay.
Always good seeing you, and hopefully you gotta get out to your neck of the woods. It'd be fun.
Okay, you're welcome. We got a spare bedroom,
Okay, well, find a job I can do some painting on, and
and we have
do
an
some
orange
stuff.
cat.
Oh yeah, I like cats. Yeah, he
Yep.
liked me.
Well,
Works out good.
he stays if people are animal people. He consents if people aren't animal people. He'll leave the room. So yeah. Okay.
Good deal.
Thanks,
Okay,
man. Yeah.
Take it easy, bro.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
The Strange Motion Away podcast, brought to you by
Royal Purple premium synthetic motor oils and high performance chemicals have been designed to improve performance, provide long term protection, and give you the confidence to push your vehicle to the limit. Royal Purple premium synthetic motor oils.